Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Redline Motorsport Endurance Championship Split 1. And we are here for round 2 at Spa-Francorchamps. My name is Ryan Gill, and I have alongside me Jesse Lee.
Yes, hello everyone, and I am so excited to be here today, not only because I get to share the box with Ryan Gill and George Smith, but also because after the hotly contested first round of this Endurance Championship here in the top split, I can't imagine what these guys are going to do here at Spa. And as I aforementioned earlier, I'm here with the ever lovely George Smith.
Hello, Jesse. Hello, Ryan. Good to be back. Good to join you guys here on a Friday night for some endurance racing. And I like the fact that things have been extended here, that we get to spend 2 hours together of race time. We're excluding, of course, the practice session that is about to come to an end and quali that we're going to go to. But we get to spend many, many minutes together. And I think that's the best way to spend a Friday night, in my opinion.
Yes, it is indeed. There's no better way to spend a Friday evening with a lot of us obviously confined to our homes. Sim racing has exploded into life, and of course, there is no better way to enjoy the start to your weekend. So, of course, we're here for round 2 of the Endurance Championship. We had round 1 2 weeks ago, in fact. That was at Monza, and we were joined by Mike for that one, Mike Jones. But, of course, Mike won't be here tonight. He'll be stewarding instead. He'll be alongside our live stewarding panel. And I think George will be with us for the rest of the season. So, we're here for round 2 at Spa. We have just about 7.5 minutes left of the practice session left. And I think it's probably overdue that we have a bit of a run through what happened not last week, 2 weeks ago, Jesse. If you can give us a quick recap on what you remember from 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I absolutely can, Ryan. It was absolutely insane. And if you weren't there, what is wrong with your head? Absolutely insane racing we had at Monza. If memory serves, it was 75 minutes of chaos and not knowing. We had teams that pitted early, pitted late, and we weren't too sure at the end of the day who was going to win the whole thing. An Apex Racing team ended up winning it all, but it wasn't without a hard challenge and charge from the Redline Motorsport Esports so-called Dream Team, who were within just seconds of overtaking them through pit strategy and overall pace at one point, but it wasn't to be, as Apex Racing Team ended up winning the race in grandstand style, pulling away at the end. And one thing beyond the excellent battle for the podium positions, which by the way would be remiss if I did not mention Team Highlands Racing THR, who did finish third in that first race at Monza. But for me, the story wasn't necessarily that. It was how well raced it was and how many passes we saw in chicanes that came off cleanly. It was absolutely epic stuff. Love it. And I expect today in our 2-hour race here to see more of the same. George Smith.
I mean, Jesse, I don't think you could have summed things up better for someone that didn't get to watch it. I mean, I was unfortunately preoccupied with other things, but at the same time, I feel like you've hyped up what should be an interesting race here at Spa. And of course, that's a circuit that I think a lot of racing fans will appreciate. It's got a really big sort of history in motorsport too. Features obviously a lot of the big series. Formula One comes here, of course. It's just got, you know, an architecture that sets out for such a great and impactful race. You've got all the elevation in the world, which of course in my books makes for great racing circuits. And I feel like the grid order here with the drivers that we've got lined up is going to set us up for what should be a great night of racing.
Yeah, definitely so. And as the practice session does come to an end, the practice session did start with a bit of additional time and there was a server restart involved, so we are just skipping forward to qualifying, which of course is 10 minutes of qualifying. We had this at Monza. Unfortunately, we did have to have a bit of a rescheduled qualifying at Monza. Hopefully we won't run into that issue this time round. But as we said, 50 cars, and we have 10 minutes of qualifying. They're going to be a bit more spread out here across Spa than they were at Monza, but it's still going to be a chaotic 10 minutes.
Yeah, it sure will. And Ryan, if I could get you to do something, would you be able to broadcast your view for us in the channel so that we may see exactly what you're seeing, so we know what to commentate on, or so that we're all seeing the same thing? But it's a fraught 10 minutes, ladies and gentlemen, this particular session. It must be said, it's a short qualifying session, and there are a lot of cars. And of course, we have Pro, Silver, and AM here, as we did last week. And I didn't even touch on the battles that happened in Silver, or Pro-Am as it's sometimes called, or AM. Certainly some great racing there. I believe that we had a Silver class car, Pro-Am, finish on the podium or near the podium, and was nowhere near any of the other cars. Of course, important to also mention that every class is competing against itself. There's no overall honors in this series other than just the pat on the back of a job well done, so to speak. Everybody is in their own class, and they are fighting for a class championship at the end of the season. So we'll touch on some of those drivers and those storylines as the race progresses. I am almost sure of it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously oh, sorry, Ryan. I just wanted to say here, I wasn't here for last week's race. So as a viewer that's watching here, are the drivers that are going through to the practice session now going to be the drivers that then, to the qualifying now, will they be starting the race?
It's not exactly clear, because you can have a different driver, other than your qualifying driver, start the race. And we did in fact see this at Monza. There were a few teams in which the person that qualified did not start the car. So we don't know who will start the car until the start of the race, unfortunately.
No, I kind of like that. I like the fact that you can throw your hot lapper in and then go and start the race with your consistent safe guy that is not going to throw it away into risky moves. I kind of like that. A lot of the racing series, your qualifying driver starts the race, so I like that there's a little bit of difference there. That's why I wanted to ask and find out. I was expecting you to come back and say no. Of course, the driver that's going out and setting the qualifying lap is going to be starting the race. So I'm glad that there was a different answer back.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're here at the start of qualifying, and a rather pink car was making its way through some of the traffic to start their qualifying lap, driven by Wolf Matuszka, one of Jesse's favourite drivers, and he's just started his qualifying lap at the moment. Jesse, can you take us around a lap of Spa?
Yeah, I sure can, and I'm a little upset that you picked this particular car, but here we go up through Eau Rouge, and I believe that's Rennie on there as well. Now we're on the Kimmel Straight. Such a fast part of the track, and if you get that wrong, you can lose not tenths, folks. You can lose absolute seconds, and this is just a veritable drag way down into this particular corner. That name escapes me for whatever reason, but no, it's such a lovely track to drive on, and here you got to keep your speed up very high, or very well done there. You got to use as much curb as you can, but not too much curb. And here the line, in my opinion, here in the sort of hairpin, doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter if you're on it or a little bit out, but here we go down through the bowl, a little wide there, I should say. Wolf Matuszka and I had a little bit of background for you guys. Had a few words after the race. It kind of feels like I have killed him and his team, commentators curse style, in some of the previous races we did, and I believe Ryan's done this on purpose, deliberate, to make me talk about Wolf, but I always will talk about Wolf. But yeah, this is the problem here. You see, as you get towards the third sector of the track here, and onto the final bit of the lap, you will have to deal with traffic. Of course, there's varying abilities of pace around here. So you do have to worry a lot about where you are positioned, and certain drivers going slower, certain drivers slowing down, but he's going to have a bit of a tow here as we head into the final chicane complex here. And again, another place where a lot of time can be lost or gained. It's going to be an amazing passing opportunity, I think, for a lot of cars going into that chicane. Oh, and by the way, as far as I'm aware, this isn't where the lap, oh, it is where the lap ends. My mistake. I thought the lap ended on the other side of the track. Probably not the best to do a guided lap around there, but I'm amazed. I thought that the lap ended here, Ryan Gill.
It actually starts there, Jesse. So you did have part of that right. So they start down that straight, and then it ends on that back stretch on this, where the pit stop comes out just after the bus stop chicane.
I see.
So yeah, it's the reason for that is also because of the grid size here at Spa. So many cars can fit into that massive pit box. They need a lot of space for them to be able to do the rolling starts. So that's why it starts all the way down. Otherwise, you'd have cars caught up in the bus stop chicane trying to start the race.
Very well, very, very nice indeed. I was unaware of some of the finer points of this, but I personally, for me in qualifying, again, it's only 10 minutes. We only have 3 minutes of it left to go, and we focus on Samir Ibrahimi, who came so close to winning the opening round, was within seconds, could see him, was in the same chicane at Monza in some of the instances with the Apex Racing team who won that race, but they have nothing to be sad about. Head held high, finishing second. That puts them in a great position for this championship. Of course, this is the team of Samir Ibrahimi and Jardier. They call themselves the Dream Team, and why not? An esports driver and one of the biggest sim racing influencers in the business, and no slouch himself, very fast in his own right, teaming up in this Ferrari. They're not they have been knocked down to second here, as Samir is not, it doesn't appear on my timing screen to be on a quick lap, but yes, he's been knocked down by this car. This is Matthias Egger, and they have taken the quickest lap around here so far. So that's interesting. I'm not sure, I don't have a recollection of where this particular team was in the first race. Certainly they were in there. Yes, what is this? The Orion Racing team, am I correct? Believe that is it. Yeah, they were in the mix there at least somewhat. But this is great. This is also interesting too, because keep in mind, everybody at home, every track and car in ACC has specific BOP for that car and track. So a car that was really good at Monza may not be the best choice here, though. With that being said, the podium positions for Monza was Porsche, Ferrari, and it's looking like that right here at the moment.
Yeah, just to chime in there, the Orion Racing team finished 6th in class.
Oh, yes.
Last time out at Monza, so they did quite a good result for them, to be honest, in class. So they'll be looking to reap a similar or even better performance from this weekend, and well, putting themselves 3.5 tenths up for provisional pole at the moment is definitely the way to do it. But have a look at the name that's just cropped up into second place. It is the man who did have pole position last week, well, not last weekend, 2 weeks ago. It's Samuel Ratz, that 192 Ferrari of the Racing Line Motorsport car, which is back in the pit lane now, doing a brilliant job, but it has made no difference to Matthias Egger, who has gone even faster and has got a 2:17.0 towards the end of qualifying here. And I think that pretty much secures pole position for him.
It doesn't surprise me to see a Porsche up at the front, and it does not disappoint me either. Very, very excited to see Matthias Egger starting up at the top there of the grid. But perhaps there will be some changes to be made if there are cars out on the grid to challenge that time. But a 2:17 almost dead is absolutely flying
I
at
was
the
just about to
moment.
say, George, I might eat my words when I said it looks like he might be solid on pole position. Samir Brahimi is 7/10 up on his lap into the bus stop chicane. He's only got these
and he
2
just
corners to navigate.
And let's see what he does right now. Sabir Ibiami is going to cross the line. He's going to go into second. So a great performance coming out. These hot lap qualifying times are just so exciting for the drivers to get. I mean, the pressure must be, unrivaled inside the cockpit, trying to get your best time out on the track with so little time to do it. I mean, right there, Samir managed to, it looks like, get 4 laps out in that quali session. So it does manage to get second place. Jake Boswell down in 14th place at the moment. He's 6/10 up on his previous time. The commentators' curse team, of course, Fabian is driving in that team as well, I believe. I don't think he got as much pink in the car as he wanted, but Jake Boswell seems to be flying around regardless. He's 5/10 up. He's going to come up to bus stop in just a brief amount of time, and that will be the end of his lap. Does have some traffic in front of him. Doesn't look like it will affect him as they dive into the pits. Jake Boswell from 14th. Will he better himself up here? Crosses the line and goes to 6th place. So a phenomenal final lap coming out from the commentators' curse team to jump up into 6th place. I'm impressed.
Yeah, definitely. And just to touch on something that a few people in the chat had noticed, first and second, identical lap times in this 10-minute qualifying session. Absolutely incredible. Of course, it will be Matthias Egger who takes pole position because the ruling states that the car that sets the lap first of 2 identical or more times is the one who is given the higher priority. So the 2 on the front row split by nothing.
Yeah, that's insane. You don't get to see it often. But where you do get to see it is in these pro tier splits, where you do get the best of the best coming out. And I mean, to get that in a hot lap session of 10 minutes of quali, absolutely so cool to see. We're going to get a great night of racing. I mean, if you haven't watched a Spa race before and it's your first time here at the circuit, it is going to blow your mind. There are just so many overtaking opportunities. Eau Rouge and Radior, it's just a complex of corners that is just infamous for what it does out onto the Kemmel Straight. You make a mistake there, you've lost out so big time. It's going to be cool. Jesse, are you excited with me? I know there's a Porsche at the front and you're not the Porsche guy here, but I believe that there's a couple of cars. I actually don't know what your favorite car is. What is your favorite car, Jesse? Jesse might be not here at the moment. So Ryan, I know that you are a Ferrari fan, am I right?
Oh, George, you are right. I am a Ferrari fan, but do you know which manufacturer I actually like more than Ferrari?
Audi?
No, in fact, it's Lamborghini. Is probably my manufacturer of choice if I had to just choose one in particular. But we have just under 4 minutes until the start of the formation lap. We've got all 50 cars lined up on the grid. And whilst we do wait, we do actually have a little bit of a track guide for everyone here tonight to pass the time. So what I will do is I will quickly pass us over to the track guide for a minute so you guys can learn a bit more about Spa and where some of the big overtaking opportunities are going to be around this circuit tonight. Welcome to the circuit Spa-Francorchamps, located 28 miles east of Liège in the Ardennes of Belgium. The 4.35 mile circuit, built in 1921 and last changed in 2007, has 19 corners and a lap record of 2:17.390 set by Ferrari in 2017. Overtaking is plentiful at Spa, and Eau Rouge and Radion are there for the taking if you can be as brave as the Bentley was in 2018. After a long run down the Kemmel Straight, Lecombe offers the perfect opportunity to overtake your opponent, just like the Mercedes is seen here. And finally, get a good run out of Stavelot and you could see yourself overtaking through Blanchimont just like the BMW. And there you have it. So that is the little track guide of Spa that we have for you. Hope you learned something new about the circuit, whether it's about some of the history or some of the overtaking spots. Maybe if you're not too familiar with sim racing or just racing in general. So always good to freshen up on your knowledge. However, we have just about 2 minutes left until the start of the formation lap. So, George, I'm going to have to do it to you because I do it to Simon every single time that I commentate with him. I'm also going to have to do it to Jesse now that he's back.
No, come on.
Who are you guys putting down for the win today?
I'm going to back the Porsche on pole position, Orion Race Team. I think, you said they finished 6th last week at Monza, and I feel that their qualifying time here has impressed me enough to... Also, I was also first choice in answering the question, so I get to pick the pole sitter, which is exciting for me. Normally I get the last choice and I'm left for, it's natural selection to pick the guy at the front of the grid. I know who Jesse's going to pick, and I know that the team that he's going to pick is going to hate him for picking it. So I'm gonna secure my vote with Orion Race Team in the Porsche. I mean, the next Porsche is being piloted around by Veal down in 9th, who I believe is driving for LP69 for performance, or their name gets me every time. But if I'm going to back Porsches, it's going to be these two. So can we pick two, or JC, are you going to just blap me on that?
Well, George, I'll let you pick whatever you want to pick because it isn't going to affect my selection. I am not going to select the team that everyone expects me to select, but I have cursed this driver before, and I think it was the 1 hour of Laguna Seca we did. I'm going to pick the Dream Team. I think today the Dream Team gets it done. That is the team of Samir Ibrahimi, and I think they get it done today.
Well, you two have definitely enjoyed yourselves picking the two favourites at the front of the grid. You've kind of left me kind of a bit lost in the woods here as for who I'm going to go. But do you know what? I'm up to the challenge. Always up to going for a bit of a wild card tonight. So you know what? Just because I know Jesse is too afraid to do it, my man to watch out for tonight, and the person who I think is probably going to have a good chance at a win tonight, it's going to be the number 25 car driven by Phil Vitt and Wolf Matushka.
Well, finally, if they have unforeseen circumstances happen to them today, I will not get an inbox full of hate for once. Thank you, Ryan, for taking that bullet for me there. But rolling off the grid now on the sightseeing lap. Keep in mind, this is a 2-hour race. No rain on the horizon as of yet. So it's going to be partly to mostly cloudy for the first 10 minutes or so. Wind, a very calm, about 1 kilometer wind, going to the east or southeast, I should say. Not a whole lot of that. Track temperature is at 24 C. Ambient is 18 C. Pretty much a perfect day to go racing here at Spa-Francorchamps. Of course, remind you, 3 classes here today, denoted by the color in the boxes. If it's a white background, that's a pro. Silver is, well, silver, and red is your AM class. Each class fighting for class victory and overall pride here. Of course, there's no overall points, only class. And you'll notice also that there is a amber number 1 beside their number box. That means that is a mandatory pit stop in which they must do a few different things. And of course, also drive time and stint time is a thing here as well. Man, this is going to be a fantastic race, and I don't exactly know, with the cars being tied to the top, I don't know how they get away from each other, George Smith.
Yeah, Jesse, I think that is going to be the question of all questions. I think it's all going to be down to the opening couple of laps to set yourself up for what is going to be a long endurance race. I think all the drivers here are pretty privy to what they need to do to get the cars to the end of the line, and that's really what you want to do. A car that finishes is a car that has a chance of making more points up. If you don't finish, you're never going to get anything at the end of the day. So everybody here is going to be tentatively approaching the first laps. That is the time that you've got the most cars around you. It's the biggest hazard time on track. For us, it's the time of most excitement, most likely, because that is when, I can't help but say, when cars are racing at full speed, so close together, there's just something that hits that motorsport fan's heart that just can't help but make you smile while you talk about what's going on screen. And Ege here leads the pack down, still along in single file, of course. They will be lining up 2 by 2 in just a couple of seconds. At the moment, they're trying to weave around and put some tire warmth into the tires. I think it's possibly the coolest looking way for them to replicate real racing, because that's what they would do on the racetrack. I do love to see the duck and weave going down. I know that dragging brakes is very effective and helps heat up the tires and the brakes a little bit more effectively. But to me, it replicates what real motorsport looks like to me, and I'm excited to see how these guys approach the opening couple of laps. Jesse, are you excited for a Porsche victory? I just want to put it out there.
Man, every time you mention that you really like Porsche and that it's also heartwarming for you to see Porsche win and all that, but man, I just don't know if Porsche will beat the Ferraris here today on longevity. I think maybe they're quick right now, but I don't know. I have to bet against you as we get ready to get going here.
Yep, they're going to be making their way through what is theoretically turn 1 in just a few seconds, and then once they are on the back part of the front straight, they will be getting ready to start. Just a quick notice for everyone. We do have live stewarding here today, and that is going to be done by our live stewarding panel, who are in the box just below us, actually. And all incidents on the first lap are investigated by the stewards. All further incidents have to be reported by the teammate to each driver. So this means only incidents that are reported will be investigated. So if there are no penalties dished out for an incident, it was either not reported or judged as a racing incident, but we'll keep you up to date with all the penalties throughout the race as we go green here. And the Porsche and the Ferrari at the front of the grid side by side. It's going to be Matthias Egger that goes into the lead as we go up Radion. And now coming on to the Camel Straight, Sam Ibrahimi's going to maintain second place. Elvin Smith right behind him as well. They look fairly clean on the start. There's also going to be Samuel Ratz and Pedrizzini following in 4th and 5th as we come towards Le Combe for the first time.
A great start coming out from Ege in the Porsche, launches himself up in front of the attacking Ferrari pack behind him. Smith, Ibrahimi and Ratz all running in those Ferraris, all in tight concession too, as they make their way down through that treacherous right kinda. It's off the camber, it throws people wide, and right here we see Elvin Smith going quite wide. Ibrahimi trying to capitalize on that, but Elvin Smith on the defensive, going to shut the door and just hold back the cork in the bottle for now. Those Ferraris also just seem to be getting away from the two, that would be two Audis in the background. It would be Faust and Matushka. So right now, everybody fighting it out, and Smith going to be committing to the inside line defense. Ibrahimi is going to come with a cutback, and side by side, they will go once again. And Ibrahimi running wide, that's going to cost him positions. It will be Ratz to slide on through. Matushka does the same thing. So Ibrahimi, in the sequence of a couple of corners, running wide, it will be side by side with Matushka in the background. We see Elvin Smith, the headlights, as we ride on board with Elvin Smith, it's Ratz, his headlights in the background as they approach Blanchimont for the first time. They're going to go side by side through here. Matushka, just a tiny bit ahead. They will throw the cars wide, and it will be Ibrahimi in the background to be sliding off. Matushka survives it as they come down to the bus stop chicane. Jesse, what an opening lap, and Matushka will survive. Our replay doesn't quite catch what happened to Ibrahimi there. We do get to see it in the background. He slides off, he hits the barrier. That's going to be damage, and that's not what you wanted to start a 2-hour endurance race.
No, that was absolutely terrible for Samir Ibrahimi, who came in tied for the fastest lap, ended up second on the grid. He immediately gets hounded by Elvin Smith for the position and goes back after him. This is very interesting here. Elvin Smith has not, or not Elvin Smith, excuse me, Samir Ibrahimi did not come in for pit or repairs there. So that's very interesting, but had a very spirited battle right there with Elvin Smith, and then got thrown well down the order, and he's down in 35th place as far as I can see right now. That is going to be a fantastic effort that's going to be required to get that car back up there.
Yeah, it's not going to be easy for the likes of Samir Rahimi to bring that car back up where he ideally wants it to be, but if there's any driver that can prove himself that he is the man, and he of course has the teammate to do it, it is going to be Samir Rahimi and the likes of Jardia as well. Looking down further at the field at the moment, it is Civolotti in 12th place. He is currently fighting with another Porsche of Christian Veal right in front of him. Massive train of cars at the moment, but it is Matthias Egger who leads the way at the moment. He's got a 3-second gap at the top of the field.
That's what he wanted to do, and that's what you want to do in these kind of circumstances. If you can get away and not have to battle with anybody on track, you are going to get the advantage going into it. You can just see how many cars are on the grid or on the track at the moment. There's nowhere to go. You're pretty much following along in a train, trying to settle into a place where you can find some rhythm. The worst thing that can happen is you get corked up behind somebody that's slower and you're losing time. So right now we're trying to go through the stages of the race where everybody settles into position. We're riding on board with Stefan Zero from he's driving a Lexus, so it's a Tech 1 Racing livery. There's no custom liveries there. Not quite sure which team name this is, but it will be Great Van behind in that Bentley to be chasing down into the bus stop chicane. And it's a great view to just see that there's not much room to try and get by. In the background there, it does look like that move between the Porsches was going down. I'm not sure if they did manage to get it done. Silverlati and Veal, I think Silverlati did get through. They are going to go side by side coming into the columns, but it looks like Silverlati getting away on the top of that battle. On number 10, Great Van now, we're going to ride on the splitter view with the Bentley as they come down to Eau Rouge and Radion. And this is a part of the track that if you're driving, you want your setup tuned perfectly, otherwise it will send you off into the barriers. Otherwise you lose time on the straights. And look at the straight that this Bentley is just absolutely munching up. They're going to go side by side down Kemmel as they approach into the chicane. The inside line for the Bentley going to force the inside line then for the Lexus into the next couple of corners, but this is going to be good for the Bentley to get on by. Nice bit of clean overtaking through a part of the track that can be a little bit grotty at times. Now needs to get back onto that inside line for the off-camber right-hander, and has done just that. We're going to go back to the battle in third place. Samuel Ratz chasing down on Alvin Smith for second. He's got Wolf Matushka chasing down behind and trying to close down the sector times, lap after lap, of course. This is going to be what we see for pretty much the rest of the race. We're going to see a battle on track at some point. There's just so many drivers here that we will get to see car on car on car action. And right now it looks like Matushka going to be trying to do that famous move where you just catapult past the front two cars. They're going to battle it out, cause themselves to defend and make mistakes, and you just try and find the slip on by. Hopefully Matushka manages to find that, but Rats might be under attack before Alvin Smith even comes into the party.
Yeah, and just something I wanted to mention, Jesse, you said that I might be putting the mockers on Wolf Matushka's car at the moment. Would you like to just quickly remind us who you voted for today for a chance at the win? Because I think Samir Brahimi might want a word with you come the end of the race.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. What I would like to talk about here is Samuel Ratz and his effort here. He's got to be very careful because he's the meat in the bun, as they would say. And if he makes a little mistake here, Wolf Matushka will go on by. I can guarantee you that. Not that Samuel Ratz would make a mistake, but just saying that that is how this is pro tier. Speaking of mistake, there we have it right there. Little bit of a bobble, and look what happened. As if I'm Nostradamus, Wolf Matushka is not only there, he's beside him. He's going to have to go the long way around, but I think he's done it even before they get down into the turn, and he has made that pass. Man, it is good to be a fortune teller. That's exactly what I was talking about right there. But all jokes aside, my apologies to the Dream Team. Again, we'll be interested to see just how much time they can make up in this race, how far up the field they can get. They were as low as 35th. Keep that in mind, and we'll keep checking in on them to see how far they are going to make it up. But Wolf Matushka, that's exactly what I expected out of him and his team. Make one little mistake Samuel Ratz did. Just got Radeon a little wrong, and he loses third.
Yeah, it kind of just shows how close it is up towards the top end of the field. And one small mistake, you lose a few tenths in the straight, and you can have a car all over the back of you or past you before you get to the end of the straight. It's how powerful it can be if you get it wrong going over the top of Radeon. We're looking here at Stefan Zero, who's just lost a place to Christian Veal. I think he actually lost a place to Civolotti just before we went over towards him, so he's now down into 12th overall, but he is 4th at the moment in the Pro-Am class. The leader in the Pro-Am class at the moment is Ossi Takamaki in the 43 Audi.
Yeah, he's an incredibly fast driver. He spent RLM Season 2 in Tier 2, and he showed a lot of promise and some really great racecraft and getting positions that perhaps his car, which was a GTR, did not necessarily have the ability to get him, but my goodness, some of the racing that Ossi Takamaki did, I mean, it's no surprise to me that he's in 6th place and 1st in his class, but a lot of time here and a lot of things can go wrong. And I was actually looking at the Christian Wheel car, the 11th place car. That's the Lappin Party team, and more on them later. I actually shared a humorous story about them, and as soon as they make a pass on somebody, which they will eventually, I got a story about them. But that was a fairly clean start of the race, guys, and that's something that we have come to sort of expect. But it happened at Monza, where it was incredibly respectful, and we've seen respectful passing here already again. I mean, is that just because of the caliber of driver, or what is that, do you think?
I think it's a bit of a balance. You do need to have a skill set that definitely enables you to push yourself to the limits and hold things at a consistent pace through the duration of things like this. But I also think it needs to, it relies on having that head between the shoulders, that respect, mutual respect for your fellow racer, and knowing that together, you're responsible for the entirety of the race. Two cars coming together in the middle of the pack, coming up into the Kemmel Straight, would just absolutely destroy the grid. So, it does take a bit of a balance there, and I'm glad to see that the likes of these drivers that are entered into the Red Line events are all of that caliber, where we do get to see clean starts and actually just let battles unfold on track. People often forget that when you have an incident at the start of a race, it can often just split the field so horribly that you don't even get that interesting couple of knife fight battles at the start in the opening couple of laps, because everybody's been split out by an incident. For now, Wolf Matushka seems to have taken over 2nd place from Alvin Smith, and Samuel Ratz down in 4th was battling out with Faust just behind him, and I think they're still battling it out as Takamaki, that Pro-Am driver who you guys were talking about just a couple of minutes ago, is battling up with the Pro Division drivers here and showing that he has some real pace to enter into the fray. Has Faust got past Alvin Smith there?
He's got past Samuel Ratz.
He's got
Eldersmith
Ratz,
is just
yeah.
a bit further up the road. In fact, I do believe that there is a back marker in the way, the BMW that is just in front of him, being one of the cars that maybe got involved in an incident on the opening lap. Samuel Ratz is going to have a look back on Faust as we come down towards the end of the Camel Straight. They come towards Lacombe, and they're going to go side by side here. And it's going to be Samuel Ratz who will have the inside line for the second part of the corner, but he's not going to have the grip. And now this is interesting. Takamaki's been held up by this, and of course that allows Muthen, who is also a Pro-Am driver, to close in on him. Oh, and just having said that, Takamaki was going for a bit of an ambitious move on Samuel Ratz, and he's actually collided with the Pro driver and spun him round. That's very, very unfortunate for Takamaki, and he has continued onwards. I think that will, well, most likely will be an investigation, assuming Samuel Ratz's teammate is going off to the stewards to investigate that potential issue. So that was quite unfortunate there, but yeah, this is not looking good for Takamaki or the likes of Samuel Ratz now.
Yeah, but I'll tell you one thing it did do. It did give Faust a little bit of breathing room here, because he certainly didn't have any of it there for a few turns, and he'll be thankful for that, at least for the second. And just a couple of things that we may or may not have sort of talked about to this point. We do have live stewarding for this entire season. What is live stewarding? It means that we have a panel of stewards, if you will, that review incidents that are reported by the teams. Therefore, actions are taken, and we will read them aloud to you guys, as you will also be able to see on screen, if I'm not very much mistaken. We'll read out what the penalty was for and why and where as well. Just a part of trying to make the racing as clean as possible as you can get. Just another thing we have here at RLM in the toy box, and it's a great thing to have. A couple of questions from the chats. People wondering where the number 86 FCS team is. That's Ricardo Claro of the Random Call Sign YouTube channel. They're down in 17th place, but they're 7th in the class. He's teamed up with Crowd's Garage. They are a all-Portuguese team, of course. And whenever they get to yelling on the radio, I can't understand a thing they're saying. But they are 7th in class right now. Of course, they finished 5th in class a week or 2 weeks ago, I should say, at Monza.
Yeah, and something just to note on the live stewarding, we do in fact have the first penalty of the race applied. And that one has gone to Leon Thesing, I believe it is. And that's car 420, which has been given a drive-through penalty for colliding with car 196. And if I'm not mistaken, 196 is one of the racing line cars, is it not?
I think it might be. I'm unsure at the moment, but I'd have to look that up, but I believe it is.
It is one of the racing line cars. It is the 196 Ferrari. Which the names of the drivers that are currently in it escape me. Raul Tori is one of the drivers, so he's the current driver in the car. So the 196 driven by Raul Tori collided with Leon Thesing, the 420 Ferrari, and unfortunately Leon Thesing has been given a drive-through penalty for that collision, and there probably is another incident under investigation at the moment, but we'll keep you up to date when any of those come through. But to be honest, one penalty so far after 15 minutes, pretty damn good with almost 50 cars on the grid.
Yeah, I have to say that too, Ryan. I mean, it's not that bad. I mean, you're going to have shunts and bumps, and might I say, I just want to give a call to Kunos, the dev team that make this game. They have made this game such a pleasant space to race online. I mean, the way that they've updated the net code and the back-end things, the things that we as racers, we never think about, to allow cars to have sizable contact and react properly in the physics engine. It's just lovely stuff. I mean, the things that we're seeing here, the cars colliding into each other, and it's just like little touches, and sometimes it's medium bumps, as I like to call them. Rubbin's racing, after all, in GT cars. That sort of thing in a lot of other sims, that would send you flying to the moon. But here, it's a very realistic contact now. It's lovely to see a driver or drivers get their elbows out there, and it's just little things like that. Quality of life things in the sim I love to see, and I love to see because all that's done to these drivers is make them more hungry and more aggressive, knowing that I won't crash this guy if I have to rub him to get by him. And again, all is fair in love and war and racing, and that's exactly what we've seen here, and that's the majority of the contact. I mean, obviously there's a few incidents, obviously, but majority of the contact, little bumping and racing, good stuff. And crazy start too. I would not have guessed Wolf Matushka would be all the way up to second at this point. It's just incredible stuff. I don't know what to predict here. I mean, we know that the Bentleys can go further on fuel than most, if not anyone else. So is that an advantage here, Ryan?
I mean, it can be an advantage, but realistically, with of course the fact that you can only go, I believe it is 80 minutes is the maximum a single driver can do. You could stretch a fuel stint all the way out to that 80-minute mark if you are in the Bentley, but realistically, I'm not too sure how much it's going to benefit you because, let's be honest, it's a 2-hour race. You're going to be changing tyres. You know, doing a 2-hour race without a tyre change is going to be incredibly difficult on you, especially at certain tracks like Spa, for example. You know, so... and obviously when you're changing tyres you can refuel the car at the same time, so I don't really see it being that much of an option to go extremely long on your fuel. I think maybe some of the cars will be looking to go maybe 65-70 minutes into the race maximum. Of course we did see someone go 80 minutes into the race beforehand, but yeah, I don't think we'll be seeing any Bentleys go 80 minutes into the race, but I could be wrong, however, as I have just noticed that Elvin Smith has come into the pit lane for a drive-through penalty. Now, we don't have an update from the stewards as to what that penalty is, so considering the fact that we don't actually have any news right now, which we usually get the news before the penalty is applied, I'm going to think that's track limits.
Yeah, that certainly may be track limits, but I can tell you one thing that isn't track limits. There was an incident between car 317 and car 248, a drive-through issued to car 317, causing a collision, and that's unfortunate because that's Eris, that's the Kunos dev team, or KRT as they call themselves, Kunos Racing Team. So they've been given a penalty by the stewards for causing a collision with the 248. So not even the Kunos devs safe out here from live stewarding. Everybody has to play in the same sandbox, and they have to play fairly, Ryan.
Yeah, that's true, and just something that I have noticed is that Takamaki has fallen back behind the likes of Muthen and, more importantly, Samuel Ratz. You might have remembered a couple of laps ago, Takamaki accidentally went into the back of Ratz and spun him around. Well, he has given the position back, so that may be in an attempt to avoid a drive-through penalty. Of course, he did make Samuel Ratz lose a overall position, not a class position though. So good to see some sportsmanship there from Takamaki to give back a place which, you know, he didn't deserve, and Takamaki's lost out in total because he had to let Muthen by to give that place up. So the stewards will take that into account when it comes into awarding a penalty, but I don't think Takamaki will be getting a drive-through penalty now.
Can we also talk about that on-screen battle that you're witnessing at the moment, where Jake Boswell is just defending his absolute teeth off against that attacking Porsche from Silverlati in the background, that white and red Porsche getting forced quite wide on the track limits earlier on, but Jake Boswell was just having a bumper full of that Porsche. As they come into the bus stop again, there's going to be traffic in front for Boswell. He's going to be flashing his lights to say, I've got an attacking Porsche and I need the room to get by. You see Silverlati doing a little dance towards the inside to just trying to throw Boswell off his braking point. I suspect there's definitely no way you're going to be looking there, but that's the driver insight, and that's all the little mind games that these drivers will be doing. You see the flashlights going on the front of that Aston Martin as they come through Eau Rouge and Radial onto Kimmel, and that Porsche is exceeding those track limits quite often from what I've seen. He needs to be careful that he doesn't go and get himself a drive-through penalty. That's Silverlati trying to get on by. And of course, that's what you want to do. You want to get by, you think you're faster. But if you go and get a drive-through penalty, you have the longest pit stop, pit lane in the world to try and navigate through, and you got your pit limits on, and that's just going to suck. Takamaki is going to be going side by side with the likes of that Bentley from the attack. That will be great ban trying to get moves done. Of course, the right-hander with the camber going to space them out just a little bit before they get into the double left-hander, which of course is also a place where you can lose so much time. It's such a fast, complex the corners, and you need to rely on carrying as much momentum as you can. And we see Takamaki doing a good job in maintaining as much of that carry through velocity as he can. Jake Boswell again going to be back on the attack. And this is where we saw the Porsche getting right onto the back of the Aston Martin earlier on in the lap, forcing Silverlotti to run quite wide and allow Jake Boswell to get the escape down to Blanchimont earlier on. Will that happen again here? That Porsche is on the attack and seems to be trying his absolute best to get on by that bright purple liveried Aston Martin.
Yeah, of course, it's Jake Boswell in the car at the moment. Fabian Schridberger, his teammate, and of course a fellow commentator of ours, is going to be taking over that car later on in the race. And I think it was Fabian that started the race in Monza, so interesting to see Jake starting this time out. Didn't get a good exit from the bus stop chicane though, and that's going to give Silverlotti a good chance to have a go into La Source, but Jake Boswell's going to have the inside line, and he's going to make sure that Silverlotti can't dive up the inside. Now they come back down on the run towards Eau Rouge and Radion. Silverlotti got a good run out of turn one, arguably better than the likes of Jake Boswell, but Jake Boswell will stay in front as they go through Eau Rouge over Radion. I think Jake Boswell has probably done enough, although the Porsche will get the slipstream coming down towards Le Combe. I do not believe the Porsche will be close enough for a move.
That was incredibly close quarters racing there. That's good stuff between the two of them. Of course, you don't want to lose any time or speed here, because Christian Wheel for Lappin Party right behind them, and all these two battling will do is get them closer to each other. And if you can turn, 2 into 3, that's not something you want to do unless you are, of course, Christian Wheel, who would absolutely love that. A lot of these cars going off, by the way, Ryan, you touched on that. A lot of these cars going wide in corners. The game, by the way, or excuse me, I should say the sim, by the way, has its own penalty system that we do not control. If you get so many off tracks, it automatically awards you a drive-through penalty for exceeding track limits too many times, and that's something that we do not control. One thing that we do control is the some of these penalties. There was an incident between car 720 and car 317. Drive-through issued for car 317, causing a collision. Oh wait, I already read that. Excuse me. I believe that was the other one. What I meant to read. Give me 1 second. What I meant to read was an incident between no, excuse me, that was new information, I believe. The
720 car seems to have been involved in quite a few accidents. I'm just saying it. I'm sorry, Jesse, I was just confused as you were for a moment.
Exactly.
The 720 car. Which one is the 720 car, actually? Let me just find that throughout the grid.
I can tell you what, he's one that's been involved in a lot of incidents. Ladies and gentlemen at home, we do apologize. What's happened here is the car number 720 has shown up a victim in about 3 or 4 incidents in a row, and it really confused me because, of course, we talked about the 317 car, who is the dev team's car. They've been given another penalty for causing a collision. They ran into the 720. The 192 and the number 43, the 43 being OC Takamaki, the drive-through for the number 43 of OC Takamaki for causing a collision. Here again, the 720 and the number 72. drive-through issue to the 72 for causing a collision on the 720, and then again incident between the 720 and the 123 car. Drive-through for the 123 car causing a collision running into the 720. So you can see where our confusion came from. I don't know or did to half these teams in this field, but they are a literal punching bag in this stage of the race, and I will send flowers to the family of that team. They've certainly gotten beat up in the last so many minutes.
Yeah, that Lexus looking... Oh.
And
I think we seem to have had
it.
I think I've had a slight server disconnect for a moment.
That's perfectly fine. We will continue here. This has turned into a radio show. That's fine. You're not missing anything out front. Egger is leading the race by a bit of a margin over Wolf Matushka. Faust in third place. The first Pro-Am or silver driver is still Muthen. Muthen is running a great race so far. Samuel Rantz in fifth place. Jaitman in sixth place. He is in the 312. Then, of course, we have the team that I cannot name due to contractual obligations, but they drive Barney the Dinosaur, as I call it. It's a very purple car, and it is from my imagination. But I gotta say, about the first 30 minutes of this race has gone, George, and my goodness, has it been clean so far. I mean, well, clean as far as racing. There's obviously been some incidents recently, all involving the 720 car, but we've seen some really good racing here.
Yeah, I think that overall the cleanliness can definitely be noted. Of course, there are going to be incidents that will occur. There's guys that are racing on track. Two of those guys that are doing that at the moment would still be Jake Boswell and Silverlotti, who Federico Silverlotti cannot find a way past this Aston Martin. It does not matter what he tries to do. Jake Boswell seems to hold down the commentator's curse. Number 52 Aston Martin in that 7th position. And that's just what you want to see. So, I mean, some of the incidents that we have seen, of course, the drive-thrus that are being issued are obviously going to affect the positions of those cars. It's unfortunate that the cars that may have been, involved in those incidents have had their positions altered and changed up. But at the end of the day, when you sign up to come racing, you know that there are risks involved. The drivers that are causing incidents will be dealt with, and you just have to deal with the cards that you are left with. And I mean, with an hour and 31 minutes of racing to go, anything can happen. Something could go catastrophically wrong for the grid in front of you. Cars could have any kind of impacts, or, it's just so many factors that could take place. An hour and 30 minutes is still so much to play for. And that's why, at the end of the day, these guys, they'll go and serve their drive-through penalties. If they've got the pace, they'll make their way back up through the grid. We might get to see some fights as faster drivers try and make their way through some of the slower cars. And consistency is king, right? So, I mean, that's the car that will cross the line at the end of the day out on top. At the moment, Egger is doing a great job at the front. Of course, you touched on that during our brief time of doing a radio show. Hasn't had much screen time, of course. And that's unfortunately what you get when when what we call you dominate out at the front. You need to have cars fighting with you to get on screen time, because that's what we like to see. We want to see the fighty battles. We don't want to just see someone lapping out at the front. Although at the end of the day, you take home the points, you are the winner, you get celebrated as the victor. But the real interesting battles seem to happen down the pack, and Jake Boswell and Silverlotti will just continue to do this. Time and time again, inside line for Jake Boswell. Silverlotti going to try something a little bit different. He has to try something different. He can't get the move done. He has to be as close as he can now through Eau Rouge and Radiol. You see him tucking right up behind the big Fanatec wing as that Aston Martin just pulls. So that slight lift that Porsche is having to do to stay on track and stay stabilized is just costing time down the straight. And now Veal is going to be having a move on Silverlotti. So Silverlotti, after looking for Jake Boswell, is now going to be almost all he has, but they've both been very wide. Wheel going off, as does Silverlotti. They both rejoin the track. Silverlotti out in the front of Christian Veal. Christian Veal knowing that Silverlotti making errors and running over the track. We saw the risks of track limits and drive-through penalties coming out, and I do believe that this number 117 Porsche, I've seen it a couple times on stream. I feel like this car is on those limits of being awarded one of those freebie passes to cruise through at Belgium at the slowest speed in the world.
Yeah, something for Jake Boswell that he'll be very proud of is that he now has some breathing room between himself and the likes of Civolotti. It does, of course, say Christian Veal at the moment on the timing board, but that timing board is split by sectors, so that will update in just a moment to reflect that Civolotti is still ahead of Christian Veal, as it does right now. And yeah, not looking bad so far for the commentators' curse team. They are currently
I wonder why they
fifth
went
in
with that
class. I can only wonder, Jesse. I can only wonder. Maybe you have something to do with it, but we'll get on to that another time. Looking down further down the field, Maxim Yefanov in 12th place overall at the moment, the 352 Ferrari, the leading AM car. In fact, we haven't mentioned the AMs much so far, but there is an ongoing battle for the lead in AM at the moment, and that is between Thomas Crabb and Mark Haynes, the 70 Ferrari and the number 8 Bentley.
Yeah, this is great. I mean, because when you have three classes of car on the track at the same time, you have the ability to have three different winners, which means three different winning battles here. It doesn't really matter, honestly. I mean, if you're a racing driver, and I say this on every RLM stream, you want to get the best out of your race. It doesn't matter if you can have 11th, you want 11th, as there's almost a move being made into turn one, potentially a touch. Nothing much doing there as Haynes gets every bit of real estate going down into turn one. Can't quite get the pass or get the side-by-side he needed to make the pass as they go up through Eau Rouge and Radion here, or Radion, I should say. I don't know where that came from. Now they go on to the Kimmel Straight, both of them going a bit wide, two completely different corners there they were taking. But man, and now they're further back apart again. And while that battle's cooled off, guys, I just want to go back and talk about the Christian Wheel situation. I talked earlier about how if Civolotti and Boswell got to fighting each other, which they had done for lap after lap after lap, that was going to bring Will back into it, and that was going to create a battle. And there you have it. And net effect, Boswell gets away. But this AM battle here cooled off for the moment, so it won't be that way for long, I don't suspect, as it'll take him about a lap to close back up.
It was actually the number 8 car of Mark Haynes, the number 8 Bentley, was actually one of the AM drivers that finished in the top 10 at Monza, if I recall correctly. And I think he did take the win in the AM class out at Monza as well. So, of course, the Bentley doing very well at Monza, and also doing very well here at Spa at the moment. But Thomas Crabb doing incredibly well at the moment to hold off the Bentley. And, of course, these guys are competing for 15th and 16th overall. There isn't really an overall championship, but it's always nice to be higher up in the overall positions, even when you're winning in your class.
Yeah, that comes down to just the pride factor of being a sim racing driver and seeing where you finish in the overall compared to other drivers. You know, the AM drivers will always be aiming to get their way up into the Pro-Am classes, the silver class. And, you know, silver drivers want to become pros. So at the end of the day, you are always going to be, you know, evaluating your laps and seeing where you progress through. But your on-track position and the fact that you're competing individually in your own series is just really cool. And the fact that you get those three different winners that JC talked about means that, you know, there's extra bottles of champagne on the podium for everybody to celebrate with. So Haynes is still going to be trying to close down on Crabb. Like we mentioned before, it doesn't just happen instantaneously. You know, there's a couple of slight mistakes that you've made in a complex of corners, and a few laps later, you're a couple of tenths down the field. So it really comes down to focusing. There's a lot of focus that's required in these kind of circumstances. These drivers are all obviously being pushed to their limits. You're obviously also trying to bear in mind that you've got some sort of a pit strategy that you're trying to follow. whether it's, you yeet the tires, you're going to be changing them, or you're trying to save tires, or you're trying to extend your fuel. Everybody's probably running with something a little bit different, because you wouldn't be a sim racing driver if you weren't approaching a race like this without having some kind of strategy where you sat with your teammates and you said, let's brainstorm something that's going to get us an advantage later on in this race. I feel like that's kind of the fun of being part of these kind of events as a driver. These guys get to, play theorycraft before the race, go and do it and see if things have worked out as planned. Faust at the moment, is that's an attack coming in from Muthen there in the Ferrari? It is. So Faust, the battle for third and fourth, but around 23 minutes to go, is going to start hotting and heating up. That Ferrari from Muthen was looking deadly as they approached the bus stop chicane. Very, very fast. And of course, Faust's going to have to defend in a couple of laps, and that will hopefully reel down the gap to where Samuel Ratz is sitting in fifth place to allow him to enter the fray. And that will let us as commentators and viewers get some more action-packed Spa racing action.
Yeah, I was just about to touch on the fact that Muthen's got to be careful though, because obviously he's not really racing for anything. He's racing for third overall, but there is no overall podium. And he is the leader at the moment in Pro-Am, so he's got to be careful about how he goes about overtaking Faust at the moment. Definitely looks like he's being held up though, so he will want to get past him. I mean, to be honest, if I was Faust at the moment and I knew the Ferrari was faster, yeah, you'd move out of the way. I mean, yeah, the Ferrari might finish third overall, but at the end of the day, third overall it's just bragging rights. The points don't show for it.
I mean, that's such a...
Yeah.
Sorry, you go ahead, JC. I'll jump in that later.
No, I was just going to echo what you guys were saying. I was just going to add that for Faust, there's nothing to gain here from racing Muthen, but Muthen has something to gain here. He could have third place and another spot in between him and Geitvin, who is second in silver class. But for the flip side, I don't think Faust has anything to gain from this. If Faust just gives up the position, he's still in third in his class. Is he fourth overall, losing to a silver driver? Yes, but there's no shame in that right now. You don't know how the race is going to unfold. You don't know what's going to happen in 5 minutes. So if anything, if I was Faust, I would agree with you guys. Let him go. If I was Muthen, I'd be pouring on the pressure here. It's like, I can get overall third. That's just how it works. That's the mind of a racing driver. They put the visor comes down, the red mist, and then it's all they care about. As you were saying, George, sorry to interrupt.
No, so I mean, you've pretty much summarized everything that I wanted to talk about, and we get to see Federico Silverlatti's view that he has watched pretty much since the start of this race. So for the last 40 minutes, he's probably seen the back end of Jake Boswell's currently piloted commentator's curse Aston Martin. They're going to come up to the bus stop a little bit late on the brakes from Silverlatti. He's going to pull out wide to avoid making contact. That is going to allow Jake Boswell to get himself a little bit of space between the attacking Porsche that we ride on board with. Christian Veal is in the rearview mirror. You can see that green Porsche, the 969, is trying to get in on this action, and that's where it was always Simon that I remember pointing out. The three-car battles is where you need to watch things and where Jake Boswell needs to be careful. But things being said, you ride on board with the Porsche, which does not look happy going to the top of Radio. Silverlatti needs to be careful with losing out to Veal from behind. And if he keeps on driving like he wants to take the position back, you might end up overdriving the car and botching that pit strategy that I touched on earlier, where you might be trying to extend your tires. Probably not really. I remember what Ryan was saying. Ryan, I mean, you said it would be absolutely nuts to try and extend tires for too long at a place like Spa, and I do believe you're right with the timing on here. So at the moment, it's probably just Silverlatti trying to get as much of the move done, but driving behind a car in dirty air and having someone else's braking points permanently in your sort of face and adapting, you end up getting into, the habits of the driver that you're chasing down. And if you don't get the move done in a specific number of laps, you start to lose where you had the advantage, where you were gaining things. So Silverlatti, potentially doing this on purpose. I could be completely wrong and choosing to just sit behind and enjoy the view and enjoy the tow and maybe be able to lift where he does, maybe through radio, is happy to, lift and be safe. Absolutely no idea. It's like playing mind roulette, and whilst these drivers continue to lap around, they are doing things that are superhuman. You're making those quick decisions, you're talking to possibly your co-teammates, they're giving you updates on what's happening in the race, and all at the same time you're maintaining those seconds, tenths and minutes that are so important in keeping yourself in the battle.
Yeah, just something to mention when you said about the saving tyres, and then you'd go on to say that I'd mentioned earlier, Civolotti very, very close to the back of Jake Boswell's car. That's going to allow Christian Veal close in on him. Yeah, I mean, in most 1 hour races, you get towards the 50-minute mark and you're already starting to feel the degradation in the tyres in pretty much most of these cars, if not all of them. So yeah, like I said, you'd be an absolute madman to try and go 2 hours on one set of tyres to try and save, 10 seconds in the pit lane? Which, arguably, you're probably going to lose on track with worn tyres anyway, and then maybe mistakes on top of that. As we can see, the Lexus of Stefan Zero in the background just going past York, I think, into Lecombe. Yes, he does. And Civolotti still finds himself in between the likes of Jake Boswell and Christian Veal. And I think Christian Veal, to be honest, is also getting fed up of staring at the back of another Porsche.
I mean, I would never get bored of that sight. Sorry, Jesse, I just had to interject.
No, please.
Ryan, you can never get sick of looking at the back of a Porsche. But like you mentioned, Veal is going to be trying to benefit off Silverlati, who is clearly driving to the edge of the limits. We've seen him outbraking himself twice whilst being on board, and that's going to just cost you to the drivers behind. So Jesse, sorry, before I got into rudely interrupt, that there's no such thing as a bad sight.
No, you're completely fine, George. I'm just laughing at the fact of, as we stay with the Boswell Civolotti battle here, I was just laughing at the fact that Boswell is flashing this, I believe this is a back marker in front of them. He's flashing him, but Christian Veal is flashing the Civolotti car and now flashing the back marker as well, as they all make it through cleanly. Excellent back markermanship as Veal goes off there a little bit, it must be said, perhaps misjudged a corner. You'll notice that Will goes around the track and he flashes a lot of the time. That's just a thing the Lappin Party guys do for fun. They jokingly claim that, it makes us faster if we do that. And I'm not sure that's going to hold up statistically, but they are incredibly quick, and it's almost superstition at this point. Yes.
That actually does hold some kind of real life. I drove a VW Beetle, which is pretty much like a Porsche, and for me to make sure that it had enough power in it, sometimes I did have to make sure that I'd run my lights. This was more for the battery and the alternator sound and the fact that I had a lot of sound inside the VW Beetle that killed it at the end of the day. So you know what, maybe flashing their lights is giving them that extra juice that they need, and you know what, at the same time helping them be more visual, which you don't really need to do in a brightly colored Lumo painted golden green Porsche. But you know what, anything for visibility as things get a little bit darker. I mean, it's going to get dark much later, not in the race session that we see. It's only going 5:45 in game, in sim. Sorry, JC, you caught yourself out earlier doing that, and then I caught myself doing it now, and
we do that all the time.
Yeah, well, it's the worst thing in the world, and I apologize to the entire sim racing community when I do it. We are in a simulator. Silverlati is really fed up of Jake Boswell's Aston Martin at this point, because he cannot get by where he wants to get by, and this third sector is just where Jake Boswell almost rubs the salt into the wound and saying, I know you could, but you can't, and by the time we get back to Kemmel at the end of this lap, you're not going to be able to look at me again. So during this sector, Silverlati in his Porsche definitely seems to have some extra oomph and motivation, and then suddenly it falls off. And that could all be down to the tuning setup and the comfort of the guys' cars. Silverlati needs to be careful of Veal, because Veal in the third sector then doesn't drop off. So that's why we keep having this ebb and flow battle between these three cars, because the driver in the middle catches up to the driver in front and then falls off, and the driver behind then catches up where the driver in the middle is slower. So we just keep getting this ebb and flow of battle on track. And if we need something to cut back to, at least we have a reference point. The battle for 7th, 8th, and 9th will probably be like this in 30 minutes time as well. And of course, they're going to go in for driver swaps and change things out. They're driving with teammates. They're piloting two-man cars for this Redline Endurance Series. 2 hours at Spa. It's round 2. I missed round 1, and I'm sad that I did, because round 2 is showing that you do not want to miss it. You want to jot it down into your diary, and that's a better run onto the Camel Straight for the Porsche. Jake Boswell might be under attack. Finally, the Porsche is going to be he's going to be forced around the outside, giving himself the inside. Has to be late on the brakes to give himself anything out of this.
Oh, there's a touch.
Right, they side by side, a bit of rubbing, and Jake Boswell lost out there as he's gone very wide, and it looks like Silverlati finally gets on by, and will Veal get the move done as well. Jake Boswell is going to lose out those 2 positions. The leapfrog, the Simon leapfrog has happened. Veal has jumped on by. The Porsches have finally got by on that commentator's curse, Aston Martin.
Yeah, and all that happened through a bit of a loss of grip that Jake Boswell experienced as he was coming out of Eau Rouge and over Radion. That slowed him down. It was one of the things that we saw Civolotti do much earlier on and caused him to drop back. Well, Jake Boswell has now been the victim of losing the car slightly, and of course he's lost 2 places as a result. A bit of scraping paint between Civolotti and Jake Boswell, but I don't think there'll be any investigation into that. And actually, speaking of investigations, I'm glad to report that we have not had a penalty in a very long time, so everyone's starting to behave themselves out there now.
My
Ryan, do you
goodness.
jump to the AM battle lead between Crab and Haynes again? Because that might be one that we could follow along for a little bit. Because these two have, on my other screen, just been battling it out as well. And Haynes just cannot get past Crab. It seems quite reminiscent of the battle we've been watching over the last couple of minutes between Boswell and Silverlati. And right now, Haynes...
I was just going to say, they've got the likes of Springer in between them now. The Pro-Am number 69 Nissan GTR is now in the middle of this battle, and of course that will help Thomas Crab a lot more than it will Mark Haynes. Although, having said that, if the likes of Springer has caught up to Thomas Crab, I'm going to assume that he's probably got the pace to get past him as well. And well, Thomas Crab's not going to be too keen on letting the Nissan by, because at the moment the Nissan is all that stands between him and a massive Bentley from trying to get past him.
Yeah, guys, just going to do some housekeeping again and talk about a few things. A few people in the chat, you eagle-eyed viewers as you are, have seen a couple of things that I've been monitoring as well. Wolf Matushka does have the lead down to 6.4 seconds now. That was over 7 seconds at one point. He is whittling away. He's just doing, chipping away at that lead with 1 hour and 10 minutes left. And at that pace, that team could in fact chase down the leader in the 126 Porsche. Also, some of you mentioned that there was a battle going on between Faust and Muth, and there was for a little bit. Nothing really came of it, and I'm sad to say that Muthen is, I think he's dealing with tire degradation, because he's certainly falling off the pace, and he's not looking at all stable exiting some of the corners. Don't know if that's just pushing too hard or not. And for those of you that are interested in the track conditions, seen some of you mention those as well. Give me 1 second. There we go. Yes, it is still cloudy. There is no rain on the horizon, but it has gotten a bit more cloudy, it can be said. 16 degrees ambient, 18 degrees on the track. And if you were with us when we started, that's a dramatic drop off. So perhaps that's also hindering some of these cars' ability to grip, because we are losing some in the track at this point, and the ambient temperature with the cloud cover has went way down. But No real threat of rain yet, guys.
Yeah, and that's going to be something that I think a lot of the drivers out here are going to be really, really thankful for. I mean, you know, they've been saying all in the 2 weeks building up to this race that there's been no sign of rain whatsoever. It's been cloudy plenty and warm as well, and of course these cloudy or rather hazy conditions have descended upon us for the race, so I don't think a lot of the drivers would be too keen on having some rainfall at the moment, as Springer is having a look at the likes of Thomas Crab at the moment, but Thomas Crab nowhere near interested to give the place up to the Nissan at the moment. And just a quick mention to Samir Ibrahimi. We mentioned, or we saw that he went off on the first lap through a mistake. Well, he's made himself up to 19th place from, I think it was 31st he found himself down in at the end of the first lap. So good job there by Samir Ibrahimi at the moment, and of course we do know that Jardio will be jumping in the car fairly shortly, so I would expect them to get closer towards the top 10 near the end of the race.
Yeah, Thomas Crab is definitely not keen on letting Springer by, even if it is just, you know, nothing to lose in terms of having a battle against the, you know, the Pro-Am driver, the silver driver. And on the inside, it will be a little bit of a lunge there for Springer. There was a room given by Crab. I think deciding to let him get on his way, a very good decision in terms of not having to worry about a car coming into the back of you or you making a mistake on the braking side, and rather just taking the fight to the driver that you actually have on track, which will be Haynes. Mark Haynes, going to be sliding on back into what we saw bring up earlier on. Was put to chill for just a little bit, but I mean, like you mentioned, Haynes doing well in the Monza event means that there's potential for them to do well here at Spa. The Bentley definitely would be carrying over some of those beneficial sort of characteristics from Monza over to Spa. Lots of top end required, and the Bentley, a car that when I drive it personally, just loves the curbs, loves to handle them, and you can really just make use of all the runoffs that you get given here at Spa. There's obviously certain tracks where those runoffs are a lot less user-friendly and driver-friendly, a lot more dirt and danger, Laguna Seca. But at the end of the day, it's all about who manages to get it done at the end of the 2 hours. And it's not just a single-man job. You've got a teammate to share the load with, and the two of you are going to be responsible to pilot your car back home. And I think that's something special in itself. The fact that we get to sit here from, you know, our lockdown situations and have all these drivers out here. It's not just the 30 or so cars on the grid. It comes down to the fact that each of them is piloted by two drivers who are making use of functionality to switch over within the simulator. And I know it's not the newest thing, and other sims have it too, but it's just cool and it's fun to have, and it enables places like RLM to host these fun events on a Friday night. It is a bi-weekly series, so we'll be joining you guys in another 2 weeks after this. And I think that 2 weeks is good because it gives you time to build up to the next race and look forward to something. It's not something that you would want to really do all the time. It's quite time consuming, and for these drivers, you just got to realize how much time and effort they've put into it. I think a lot of people come in, they just kind of tune in and see sim racing on the broadcast and don't really know just how much time and effort goes into affecting something like this and getting it to the point where you can be competitive on the track in this pro tier.
Yeah, and just while you were mentioning the state of different tracks, and of course the fact that we will be back in 2 weeks' time. Of course, we still have an hour and 5 minutes of this race left to go, but in 2 weeks' time, we'll be going to George's favourite track in the world, Kyalami. It's a home circuit. Then, of course, we'll be going to the UK on the 5th of June. We'll be going to Silverstone. On 19th of June, my second home, or my spiritual home. On the 19th of June, we'll be going to Barcelona. And, of course, the season on the 3rd of July will be ended at Suzuka. And what a wonderful circuit to end the season at Suzuka. Definitely an exciting race. We've got some incredible tracks lined up on this 6-race calendar. which will run all the way through to July. And of course, we do have some plans for some other series and events going through. In fact, we have the start of the NSX Pro, Pro-Am and AM championships over the next week or two, I believe. And we've also got another couple of endurance races planned throughout the next few months as we build up to our first ever 24-hour event. And as I say that, we've got a side-by-side into the bus stop chicane between Thomas Crabb and Mark Haynes. I thought Mark Haynes might have had the move done on Thomas Crabb through the bus stop, but not quite. Now they come down into turn 1, into La Source, and I think Mark Haynes is gonna have the job done. Thomas Crabb sticking to the outside line, and the Bentley, well, patience is a virtue, and patience has delivered in the way of the number 8 Bentley.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have seen the start of pit stops. Pit stops officially taking place, not quite to the halfway point in this race. Matthias Egger has brought his first place, number 126, Orion Racing Porsche, down to pit road and has finished his stop. And if I'm not very much wrong, that is Berrezzini in the car now, who has taken over and will likely spend the last portion of this race, the hour and 2.5 minutes and some change, in hopes to finish this race. That being said, I did see Wolf Matuszka driving at a little bit faster clip, it must be said. He had the gap under 6 seconds before that pit stop. So I wonder if this slightly early but still on schedule stop is in a direct response to how much Matuszka and the group were chewing him up.
Well, I've got some quick penalty news for you, actually, by the way. We saw Takamaki earlier on get a drive-through penalty for unfortunately hitting the back of Samuel Ratz, the 192 Ferrari. He did actually receive a drive-through for that. Jesse updated us on that. Well, unfortunately, the 43 Audi has received another drive-through penalty. Would you like to guess which car he's managed to collide with, Jesse?
Is it the 720 car?
It is the 720 Lexus. That unfortunate Lexus has been through the wars today. I think it's been hit by about 5 different cars at this point in the race. And unfortunately for Takamaki, they will be serving another drive-through penalty before that car comes in to serve its mandatory pit stop. And well, I definitely feel bad for the 720 Lexus at the moment, sitting down in 23rd place overall, because that car has received an absolute beating today.
Yeah, if you're a member of that 720 Lexus team, drinks are on us tonight, lads. You absolutely earned it. You guys have been passed around like a beach ball, and that's unfortunate. You know, sometimes you know what they say, guys, sometimes you are the fly, sometimes you are the windshield, and I believe today they're the fly. But again, no rain on the horizon at the moment. Pit stops have commenced for the top cars. Your previously leading car has come into pit, and we see other cars following suit as well.
Jake Boswell and Jordan York will possibly be a hotting up battle that we may be able to jump back to if things don't heat up here. The McLaren coming up to the top of Kemmel was just blistering in pace and then seemed to drop off a little bit in terms of mistakes. It must be noted that Jake Boswell, for the commentator's curse, number 52, is just driving with such consistency, and it goes such a long way. We're going to go back over to the battle up front. Samuel Ratz, we ride along board as I believe that is Faust in the Audi, and he's closing back down to...
We've actually got 2 battles here.
At the back as well, Muthan and Great Van as well, also fighting it out. So that's the battle for the Silver Division and the battle for second place in the Pro Division, all in a single shot, as it will be Ratz trying to get past on Faust in that gold-colored Audi. Ratz going to be weaving all around, trying to throw off the angles, but just look how the throw comes in from that Audi. Goes from the right-hand side of the track, comes all the way back left around, but Ratz will arguably have the better run down the Kemmel straight side by side, and they will go
and side by side they will fight again. Samuel Ratz looks like he's a little bit, what a move coming out from Samuel Ratz. He's going to get oversteery, a bit of drift coming out there, but manages to hold it down. Faust also managing to not make any contact with the back of Samuel Ratz's slidey Ferrari. Samuel Ratz does get some moves done, and a great bit of driving to be caught on camera there from Ryan.
Yeah, and it's actually quite interesting to see the battle for what is theoretically third place in the Pro Class, because of course the leader in Pro Class has pitted. And then to also see the battle for the lead in Pro-Am right behind with Muthen and Getvan. Of course, Samuel Ratz being able to get past Faust is going to be nice, and they've all caught up to a Lexus backmarker at the moment, the number 72 car. And that car's going to have to, ideally, move out of the way as quick as possible, because he doesn't really want to get in the way of any of the battles. He moves out of the way of the Pro cars, and he does move out of the way of the Pro-Am cars. So
Brilliant
good job
stuff
there from the Lexus to make sure that coming into this fast complex towards the end of the lap, he is not in the way of any of the cars, as we now focus on the Pro-Am battle for the lead. And just a quick mention as well, Mark Haynes has got past Thomas Crabb, but Thomas Crabb is sticking with the number 8 Bentley, so the lead in the AM class not quite finished yet, as Samuel Ratz and Akos Getvan both peel off into the pit lane.
Yeah, they've both decided that they've had enough of this mess, and it's about time. I mean, it's a perfect time to come in and pit if you're involved in a battle and you want to try and get away from some of these cars you've been racing, or at least try some strategy, do something of the sort. That's exactly what I would do in that situation. I would get myself out of that situation. Nothing good can ever happen. But guys, earlier in this race, I talked about Muthen and Jaitvin. I talked about how Muthen wanted to get by, I don't know if it was Ratz or Faust at the time, but he wanted to get by one of them. And the reason why is because he had the most to benefit from it. That would be another car between him and Jaitvin, and he didn't get that done for whatever reason. And look what's happened now. Jaitvin is beating his back bumper off right now, and neither one of these cars have, oh, actually, I think Jaitvin has pitted. I was incorrect. So Jaitvin has pitted. We'll have to see how that works out. Now, in theory, of course, if you have a good enough pit stop, that, as close as they were, half a second, nothing in it, that will probably give Jaitvin the position over Muthen, or his team, I should say. That'll give Gentleman Racing, I should say, the position over GT Series. So we'll pay attention to that as that battle cooled off as well. As pit stops continue to occur here, the running order will be incredibly messed up, and if you want to hear a bunch of commentators be really confused about what's actually going on, you've tuned in at the right time, because it's impossible to really know. But I would expect that 312 to leapfrog the 18, even if it's just by a little bit, because they went in first, and I think that's the right strategy. Get in, do the undercut, profit. As Wolf Matushka is now in pit road, the leader has come in. Wolf Matushka running second earlier, but was promoted to first, and now has an opportunity here. We'll have to see. Remember, he was some 5.8 seconds out of the lead earlier from the 126 Porsche that's now led or driven by Berrezzini. Wolf will no doubt be getting out of this car, and he'll put his co-driver in, which I believe is Phil Vitt. So the number 25 Pepto-Bismol Audi comes in. This is interesting. Will Muthen come into pit this time by? That I know he didn't. Muthen did not come in and pit that time by. I don't know what the strategy is. I mean, is that a viable strategy, just to stay out as long as you can, guys?
Well, I think it depends on the driver that you have in the car at the moment. For example, some of the cars out here would have had their stronger driver or their faster driver, if they do have a faster driver. Some of the teams don't. It's fair to say that some of the cars will have their faster driver in at the start of the race, and maybe that driver will do a bit more than what the slower driver will do. You know, looking maybe about 65 to 70 minutes in the car. Also, something what you don't really want to do is, if you're lapping really quick and you're in a rhythm, and you know your tires are still holding up, you don't really want to take someone out of the car. You want to leave them in as long as possible, as long as they're keeping up with their pace. And as we see Barazini come through turn 1 at the moment, we're going to have to watch out for where Phil Vitt is in the number 25 Audi. Jesse, do you have eyes on them?
Yeah, I do. Phil Vitt is now going out the long pit road. He's now up through Eau Rouge and Radeon. He's now coming through to the bit where he can rejoin on the Kimmel Straight. Phil Vitt is out on the track, and if I'm not very much mistaken, I believe the cut has worked. Oh, but
no, Barazini has the run. Barazini had the run coming up Kimmel.
Oh, but there it is.
Speed, and there it goes past. Barazini, for the Orion race team Porsche, will resume the lead after the pit stop, but the gap between the drive... Oh, we see an incident on track just in front. Both drivers need to be careful of what's just happened. That car getting spun off track, rejoining there, luckily not going to cause much of an incident, is a lapped car. I'm going to jump back over to a replay here as they go...
This is the battle for the AM lead between Thomas Crabb and Mark Haynes.
And that's Crab. That's it's just gone a little bit wide, has he? Oh, he's come back around, got clipped by the front of the Bentley, and come back on track. Oh,
very scary there.
To save it. Lucky to walk away with that one. I mean, the way that your car can just be spun completely 180 degrees, absolutely a risk that's there.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Barazini might still be in the lead for the 126 Porsche, but something that has happened is that the gap has been cut down significantly. Phil Vitt will want Thomas Crabb to move out of the way as quick as possible, as he will want to start to close down the gap. So it seems like leaving Wolf Matuszka in the car was the correct decision for the Muka Motorsport team.
Yeah, it absolutely certainly seems like that. And as we say that, the silver leaders, Muthen and Zero, are in pit road getting their service at the same time. I think that answered our question, how long would you stay out? The answer is exactly that long, as they both come out of pit road almost yes, they are nose to tail, so net nothing there for the two silver drivers, who will eventually, as you can probably see, the overall leaders cycle back through. So that'll be a battle that continues. But for Barazini, yeah, the gap is very much shorter than it was. It certainly isn't the... What do you reckon? That's about 2.5 seconds they have on each other. I mean, that cut it in half. We'll have to monitor that and see if Phil Vitt can keep his car in the running for this win. They are in it right now, and racing driver mentality, I talk about it all the time, and I'll talk about it again. If you can see the guy in front of you, you think you can catch him. And of course, this is all for second position at the moment, as Springer has not brought his car in yet, but of course he will at some point have to do that, and I would assume some point sort of soon.
Yeah, and just Phil Vitt at the moment, he's right on the back of Thomas Crabb at the moment. I mean, ideally, considering the damage that Thomas Crabb has probably taken from the incident that he had involving the number 8 Bentley, I would think the most sensible thing for Thomas Crabb to do at the moment would be to let the 25 Audi past him. I mean, they're not racing for class position. This is an AM car and a pro car at the moment for third overall, and of course this is hurting Phil Vitt more and more as Barazini starts to gap them.
And if you are driving a damaged car around, the risk that you make a mistake and it has some kind of an impact on a car that you're trying to defend or race against means that you then risk getting some kind of penalty. So I think that the smart decision will be made on a safe part of the circuit there, just before Blanchimont. Thomas Crabb pulls to the left of the circuit, will allow Phil Vitt to get on by and get that chase on to the back of Barazini. Of course, we saw that gap before the pit stops all went down between that pink the pink Audi and the blue and white Porsche, who were battling it out for first and second. I mean, the gap was down to about 6 and a bit seconds. So their pit stop that they did definitely put them out on top. They came out, there was 1 second down the road from one another. Of course, the back marker from Crab has thrown a little bit of a spanner in the, it's not a back marker, it's a car for position in a different class, should I say, has thrown that spanner in the works, which has caused them to then lose a little bit of time down the road, 3.2 seconds. But it's all relatively nothing considering there's 48 minutes left of racing, and with that kind of a gap down there, you can get right back up to where you want to be.
Yeah, I was just thinking, without Thomas Crab getting involved there with Phil Vitt, I mean, we could have seen Phil Vitt be as close as just under 2 seconds, or maybe about 1.5 seconds behind Barazini. Of course, now it is 3 seconds, so he's got a lot more work to do at the moment, and it will be, after a couple of laps, we'll start to get an idea of the average lap times that these guys will be doing at the moment. The one positive thing that Phil Vitt has on his side is the fact that because Matuszka came in later than the likes of Matthias Egger earlier on, that does mean that the Audi number 25 does have fresher tyres by, is it about 10 minutes, I think? Could play a part towards the end of the race. A bit unlikely, but it depends on how both of these drivers wear out their tyres.
Can I ask a question just with regards to the driver's stint time, what the maximum stint time is for a driver?
The maximum stint time is 80 minutes, as far as I can remember. And so
in
that would...
theory, right? Like, to answer Jesse's question, how long could you stay out for? It would just be 80 minutes, because whoever started the race would be that. So only Springer, who's at the front, who hasn't got into the pits yet, could be playing Theorycraft 20 and trying to extend that driver stint. We said, could you do it? Would you do it? Possibly wouldn't. But I think that racing drivers and sim racing drivers will try anything if there's an opportunistic moment. Words are sometimes hard for me, and I'm sorry. English is my first language, my only language, in fact, and I still can't even get that one right.
Don't let him fool you at home, folks. George speaks perfect Afrikaans. I've heard him do it. He's tried to teach me, and I am absolutely none the wiser. But speaking of none the wiser, we have some more penalties between car 123 and the number 39. A warning and a plus 20-second time penalty that will be added on at the end of the race, given to the number 39 for not yielding sensibly to a car that was lapping them. So that's essentially a blue flags penalty. 123, though, did not escape this. They also were given a warning for unsportsmanlike behavior and aggressive driving for being too close to a car that they were attempting to lap, essentially racing a lap car aggressively without cause. So that's one incident there that occurred, and that's how that cookie crumbles for both of those. Of course, a plus 20-second penalty will not show up in the race. It's added on to your time post-race, and if I'm not mistaken now, the teams are alerted of that mid-race, are they not?
Yes, they are. The driver that is currently not in the car is the one who is informed of the penalty, so they do know that the penalty exists. All the other drivers in the race are not aware of the penalty. The only team that is aware of it is the team that has received it, and of course that penalty is added on at the end of the race, as we mentioned. So definitely something for that car to look out at the moment. I did just see the number 18 Ferrari serve a drive-through penalty. Has there been any information on that, Jesse, or are we putting that down to track limits?
That would almost certainly be track limits, Ryan. I've not gotten anything about that. They haven't even discussed anything about it. So I would assume that is based on the fact that they ran wide. We talked about that before, about, it accumulates, and if you get so many of them, you do get a drive-through. So there's no sort of incident on track that would have caused that. So it just simply the sim giving you a penalty for going off track, gaining time.
And here is a car that we haven't seen too much of today because of an unfortunate incident that happened to them on the first lap when they were coming through Blanchimont. It's the number 49 Ferrari, the Redline Motorsports Esports car of Samir Brahimi and Jaroslav Honzik, or Jardia as he is more commonly known. And they're up into 16th place at the moment after the round of pit stops. So from 31st place, which is where they found themselves at the end of lap 1, after being on the front row, well, that's a pretty good recovery so far. 15 places gained, 44 minutes left to go. Can they make the top 10?
Yes, the answer is yes. Yes, they can. Jardier is an incredibly quick driver. You know, he's one of those that make the crossover in my mind. He's not just a YouTuber or an internet personality or an influencer, as they're sometimes called. He is an incredibly quick driver, and in my opinion, he's esports caliber. And obviously, he gets invited to a lot of events, and he runs an RLM. I assume for fun. I don't understand. I mean, it is good competition, and he's always here running events, and he's teamed up with one of the fastest of the fast, one of the aliens of sim racing. And the answer, again, long answer, yeah, he absolutely can. I would be surprised if they don't threaten the top 10 at the end of the race. But in my mind, for them, this is salt in the wound, you know, because you did so well. You tied for pole, and then one unfortunate event, and then all of a sudden you are fighting back markers, or cars that would typically be back markers to you. But you know, the glory of the format that we have here, the glory of the format of these races, is that this race will not break your season. You can have a race like this, and you could finish somewhere, I don't know, I reckon in the top 10 in pro, which is what class they're in pro, and you can come back 2 weeks from now and you can have a great race and all is forgotten. But that doesn't help their mentality right now. I don't know Jardier's mentality for this. I don't know if it's like, oh, this is a fun run now, or oh, I'm going to go out there and get all those positions. I don't know him well enough, but if it was me, I'd be driving a little mad. The visor would be steaming up a little bit at this point, but certainly they've had an excellent recovery. And on top of all of that, they've maintained their poise, and they've ran back up through the field. They're more than halfway through it. 40-some minutes, give them 10th place. I reckon they can absolutely do it.
Yeah, and of course, I mean, we know Jardier, quite an excitable character as well, so no doubt that even if he might be slightly frustrated at the fact that, you know, this could have been such a good result for them, would have been looking at a chance for a winning class, or definitely a podium in class for sure. They are now obviously fighting back for scraps to see what they can recover. As I've just noticed, the 193 Porsche has received a drive-through penalty. Hopefully we can be updated on that fairly soon. If not, we'll chalk that down to track limits, which is not uncommon around here. But someone I do want to have a quick ponder over to is our good friend Sebastian Bruno for the Open Visor Racing Club. It's not doing too bad at the moment, 3rd in class, and of course this car, unfortunately, had a driver issue, didn't it, come the first race of the season, where their second driver could not compete due to a blue screen error, I think it was.
Yes,
so
indeed.
Sebastian Bruno had to do the whole race, and then of course got a 2-minute penalty at the end by the server due to not filling the pit stop requirements of a driver swap. So they had an unfortunate time out at Monza. Well, Sebastian Bruno enjoyed himself because he got to do 2 hours of racing. But he is here now in the second half of the stint for the Open Visor Racing Club team, and they're 3rd in class at the moment, and not looking too bad.
I absolutely love Brunier's attitude 2 weeks ago at Monza. He communicated very clearly that, hey, my teammate is having problems. Of course, he drives with a fellow Open Visor Racing Club teammate, and he had the blue screen of death, and it was not something that was easily sorted. And Seb basically said to himself, I'm just going to have a fun run. And he did, and obviously that's not allowed by the rules technically, but not going to take him off the track. I mean, the man showed up to race. He's going to race. He had fun doing it, and he said, well, we'll get a result next time. And I don't know if he thought that this would be the sort of pace and result that he would have, but my goodness, 3rd in class. That is brilliant stuff by the 777 car, who is in a very short time become a car that I expect to see in almost any race, that 777. I mean, it is just the way it is.
Yeah, Sebastian Bruno and racing at RLM seems to be something that's become pretty much standard. I've seen him in so many, pretty much all the RLM events, besides maybe the Porsche Cup series and events that we have run. I have seen Sebastian Bruno in pretty much everything, and of course one of the incredible things about Sebastian is the fact that he races exclusively in VR. Of course we did touch on this back in Monza, but yeah, if you want to see what it's like for someone who pretty much does race exclusively in VR, the guy doesn't even have a monitor.
He's crazy.
Yeah, he's definitely worth checking out. He does have a YouTube channel. I can't remember the name off the top of my head. If you search Sebastian Bruno, you'll probably just find it. But yeah, he does stream his races that he does in VR, and if you do have any questions about how to set up VR in ACC, I'm pretty sure this is the man to ask, because he pretty much knows everything.
Yeah,
So can I just
agree with that? Yes, George.
I wanted to just, madness. Sheer madness. He drove for 2 hours in VR because his teammate had a blue screen of death.
Yeah, he's a competitor.
He competed in the 12 Hours of Suzuka exclusively in VR, in which I believe he had to do at least 4 hours in his 3-man team. So yeah, I think he did 4 hours in the 12 Hours of Suzuka in his full VR setup as well. So yeah, the guy is full committed to this way of racing.
I'm lost for words. I honestly cannot believe that that is honestly dedication, and I wish that I could enjoy VR as much as that. For me, it's still a bit of a struggle. So maybe I should make my way over to that YouTube channel and go and get some top tips from Sebastian and see if I can find a little bit more comfort, because to me, hearing all of that sounded like complete madness. And even for me, finding my own steering wheel when I'm in VR, by myself, and just, it feels you're so immersed that I couldn't imagine having to communicate all these issues with other people, and it's madness, just madness. Absolutely cool to see. And Tobias Quick, the LP69 performance driver change going to take place, taking over the gold and green Porsche, the number 969. They're currently holding down 6th place overall, but it would be 4th place in class, I believe, in the pro class. Am I right, Ryan?
4th place.
Am I reading it correct?
Yes, place. 4th place in class at the moment. And actually behind them is Fabian Schmidberger, who has taken over from Jake Boswell, the commentator's curse car, number 52. So they're going to be 5th in class at the moment. And that actually, now that we're looking at class positions, I have just realised that Jaroslav Honzik and Samir Ibrahimi, their number 49 Ferrari, does actually find itself 7th in class. So that's not actually too bad of a recovery for Jaroslav and Samir, if that's what they can pull off. I don't think they'll make up any more class positions by the end of the race. 35 minutes left to go. They would have to go all the way up to 8th overall to find another class position. But of course, if mistakes come the way of other people or accidents, they could easily make up some places if there is time to be gained from other people's unfortunate events. But as we also look at the class positions, it's the 312 Bentley up in 3rd overall, 1st in class, and of course the Lexus is further behind. There's the car of Honorati, the Racing Line Motorsport car, in between those two. Yep.
Ryan, so some of you at home may be wondering where the number 94 team that was initially piloted by Faust, where they went. They have apparently experienced some sort of technical gremlin in pit road and are out of this race. That's the 94 cars out of this race, which has promoted some of these other teams and drivers up onto the podium, and has, that's not what you wanted to see. And by the way, Phil Vitt from Mikkel Racing, or Motorsport, I should say. I cannot pronounce that name. I'm sorry to Matushka and Vitt, but they're now down to just 2 seconds behind Berrezzini. and I think that's doable as well. But my heart goes out to Faust. That team was in a really good battle for an hour and 10-20 minutes, I would say, and now they will not have an opportunity to finish, I don't believe, due to a technical gremlin, guys.
That's incredibly unfortunate. They were in a battle for a podium in class, so that's going to hurt immensely. And obviously with the fact that they might not have the chance to resume and continue the race, obviously means they won't be scoring any points, because a DNF is 0 points. So yeah, it's quite unfortunate for them. But looking at Phil Vitt at the moment, 1.9 seconds behind Barazini. Barazini has been caught in a bit of traffic, so that has slowed him down slightly. But I have seen Phil Vitt just chipping away at that 3-second gap that they had much earlier on. So he is quicker than Barazini, or at least he is quicker, it seems, over the last 15 minutes or so. And as we are now just about 33 minutes away from the end of the race, it's 1.8 seconds between the two overall leaders. And, well, I think coming towards the end of the race, if it keeps going at this pace, we are going to have a battle in the last few laps.
It always comes back together. Sorry, George.
No, I mean, Ryan talked about it. I do think that Phil Vitt does have the pace. I mean, he was caught up behind back markers there. He only lost the 10th, did a 2:18.4. His prior lap to that was a 2:18.3, whereas Barazini, without the same sort of back marker troubles, only did a 2:18.6. So Phil Vitt, with 32 minutes to go, definitely in contention to catch up to that Porsche in the shot at the moment as they make their way through the chicane. You see him cutting through. So Phil Vitt going to hopefully give us a show to party to and close out the finale at Spa. 32 minutes of racing. I mean, I can't believe that we've been here for an hour and a half almost. It feels like it's already just flown by, and we still get what feels like a mini sprint towards the end.
Yeah, it's absolutely true, isn't it? I mean, all these races with RLM, guys, if this is your first time tuning into RLM, what are you, crazy? You've missed like 2 years of action, first of all. But go ahead and follow and everything here on Twitch. And if you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and hit subscribe. Why not? We upload all of our VODs on YouTube. And if you are watching this on Twitch, you know, if you're a Twitch Prime customer, you can subscribe subscribe to the Twitch channel for free. That would be fantastic. But also, I got a couple of stories from Pit Road for you guys. Everybody get your blankets and cuddle up by the fire. This is going to be funny. Fez Fox, also known as Mark Whitford, who is the teammate to the 777 current driver, Sebastian Bruno, he has an interesting bit of information. His team, him in particular, qualified on safe preset, and they're doing this based on the default setup because of an error that they had, a human error with setting up their car. They qualified on the safe preset. So a bit funny there by Mark Whitford, but yeah.
It also goes to show just what a good job Kunos does in putting together the setups,
Indeed.
you know, the safe and the setups that they do. So anyone that is new and looking to get into sim racing, everybody, you know, not to be intimidated by hearing the word setups are needed. At the end of the day, you can get a good baseline run and run with things like this. You see Sebastian Bruno's team there doing exactly just that on a safe setup nonetheless.
Yeah, it's actually really funny. I mean, things happen, you know, sometimes you're so focused on getting in the race and getting a good spot, and it's just like Mark Whitford just said. He goes, oh man, he goes, I wondered why it felt like it did, and I checked the setup when we went to do the pit stop and realized it says safe preset. And he's like, he shakes his head. It's incredibly humorous. And yes, Mr. Matushka, I see you, and no, I have not cursed you. My apologies. I picked another team today instead of you so that you wouldn't have to deal with the commentator's curse, and you are absolutely welcome, and I accept PayPal donations. But I do have, we have a minute here.
Stop. Before you even do your plugging, which you're going to do, I just want you to just touch on the fact that you did kill a team.
I was going
I'm
to
not
say,
interested in
Samir
that.
Ibrahimi probably wants to have a word with you, Jesse,
No,
post-race.
you escaped this the last time that Ryan brought it up, and we let you just run with it. But let's just bring up the fact that the team that you chose today literally lasted a lap.
It didn't even last a lap.
So here's
No,
the
not
thing.
even a full
Here's
lap,
the
Ryan,
thing,
you're right.
guys, gentlemen. Here's the thing about that. Hello, audience. How are you guys doing? Here at RLM, we like to have fun and we like to have really good races. And some of you may know that May the 29th is the 1-year anniversary of the official release of ACC. Here at RLM, we love ACC as much as you guys do. It's an excellent sim. I think we could all agree. And in celebration of that, we're holding our first ever GT Challenge style sprint race weekend event. Drivers will sign up in teams of 2 to participate in 2 one-hour races with a mandatory driver swap in each race. Sign-ups will be coming soon. Our admins will post more information about that over in our Discord. And keep in mind, we've ran many races, but we've never actually ran a full GT Challenge, or as it was called, the Blancpain Series style weekend, where there are 2 one-hour races and you have to driver change in either one of them. That will be coming May 29th. Sign-ups are coming up soon, and that will be fantastic, and that is in celebration of the 1-year anniversary of ACC. We hope to see you either out on the track or here in chat with us May 29th.
I have to say, I have to ask one question about all that, Jesse, which, fantastic explanation, and I was going to get onto that towards the end of the stream, and I will remind people come the end of the stream as well, but whilst you were talking about the incredible event that we do have planned for the anniversary, what does all of this have to do with you cursing Samir Ibrahimi at the start of the race?
Well, I'll tell you what. We are seeing a really great race here put on by a lot of drivers, and I think that we can sort of gloss over some of the finer points of who picked who and who's doing well and who's doing bad. And we can talk about this excellent challenge from Phil Vitt that we're seeing occur right here.
Well, we're not going to get a solid answer out of Jesse, but one thing that he has pointed out is the fact that Phil Vitt is now within a second of Fulvio Barazzini. So just as I did say before, I figured that Phil Vitt might have the pace to catch up towards Barazzini. That is looking to be the case. And just about a 1 second gap now with just under 27 minutes to go. It is heating up towards the top of the field.
You're not wrong, Ryan. We did see a big diversion game going on by our fellow American co-caster there. He does not want to remain answerable to, the prediction game that we play as commentators in picking a favorite team at the front, and that's okay. Let's just let it be said that as long as he doesn't choose between one of the 2 drivers driving these cars here, we should see these 2 cars finishing the race. So hopefully Barazzini is going. You just wait, Jesse. You just wait. My Porsche that I predicted up at the front here is doing grand things. And as a commentator that hasn't commentated cursed that Porsche, I would just like to take great pride in the fact that I've done that. Unlike you, JC Lee.
Well, George laying down the law as we just switched to Marco Winkler, who has just recently got past the likes of Tom Young, who has taken over the number 70 car from Thomas Crabb. You'll remember that the number 70 car actually had an incident around about here with the number 8 Bentley, just a little bit of an incident. Nothing too serious, but actually the number 70 Ferrari is still in the lead of the AM class. The number 8 Bentley, now driven by Dominic Kinsler, is behind them by about 3 seconds. So, nice to see Tom Young there, retaining the lead in the AM class. And something that's just shown up on my radar is the commentator's curse Aston Martin, previously driven by Jake Boswell, currently driven by Fabian Schwarzenegger, is going through the pit lane to serve a drive-through penalty. And, well, I'm guessing that is down to track limits, is it not, Jesse?
Yeah, it almost certainly is, Ryan. They would have likely done nothing to warrant. We can look at the incident report, and I'm not seeing anything involving the 52. That's That's the thing. It's just track limits, and I believe the guy I cannot state now. I almost did it. The number 52 car, I believe that they have, in fact, ran afoul of those track limits one too many times, and the sim has issued them that penalty, and that's sad. That's really bad. They were having a really good day, and I've also always told this team that they're a top 10 team every race, if not a top 5 team, and they were certainly in that group today. But this drive-through penalty will be enough to sort of take them out of it and take the wind out of their sails. Just unfortunate event, and hopefully something they can learn from in the future.
Yeah, and actually, it's important that you mentioned, what that's done to them in terms of a class position, because it does now mean that Jaroslav Honzik in the number 49 Ferrari has jumped ahead of them for class position. So that puts Jardier's car up into sixth in class. And I did say that the only way that they were going to gain any more places in class was through other people's errors. And that's exactly what has happened. And Fabian will be very, very frustrated with himself, I am sure, because they were on for a 4th place in class, which would have been absolutely brilliant for that car. Unfortunately, not the case anymore, as we focus on Phil Vitt, who is still hovering about a second behind Barazini, as Barazini has encountered some traffic.
Yeah, it has, and that's the ebb and flow of the race. I mean, you're always going to have stuff like that. It's always going to be a thing in the back. It's always going to be a thing in the back of your mind. Ooh, boy, a little bit of traffic there, but gets away from it. It's certainly a part of it. When Barazini gets some traffic, then Phil Vitt will catch up a little bit, and then it's just the way it is. But this is the part of the race where you don't want to throw it away. We've seen it time and time again where teams get close like this. They can see the guy they're chasing. They know they have the pace to go catch them. Hopefully you have the fuel in the tires, which I don't think is a problem for either of these two guys, as now it's 1.6 seconds as it's going out because, like Ryan mentioned, the lap car, and if you don't get to take your line around a corner, that is several tenths there, and no fault of the lap car, mind you. I mean, the lap car has to be somewhere. He has to be on the track. He is racing in his own race, so it's nobody's fault. It's just the part of racing. But this is the part where if you are Motorsports and you are Phil Vitt in that number 25, you do not want to throw your race away over something silly here. You don't want to try too hard. You know that you have pace. Do what you know works and get it by lap traffic as safe as possible. And I promise you, Mr. Vitt, in 20 minutes time, you will likely have a shot at the overall win here today. And it's as simple as that. Though, saying that, what I said is simple, doing that quite hard. Again, there's a reason I'm in the booth and not in the car.
Yeah,
I think that's a good...
Oh, sorry, George, I was just going to say, I think there's one or two... Oh, as we just seen the number 8 Bentley in the AM class having an accident over the top of Radion. I'm going to quickly see if I can catch that on the replay. I will be able to catch that on the replay. I was just going to mention that there's probably one of two things going through Phil Vitt's mind at the moment, and that's probably the words of Wolf Mashushka telling him to hurry up or just keep it calm, as we see the number 8 Bentley lose it over the top of Radion into the barrier. Ooh. And that's going to be some significant front-end damage to that Bentley, and probably some steering damage as well.
And the end of those tires for sure. I mean, that was like at least a 720 at the end when he hit the wall, so definitely going to be having to jump and have a look for some damage repairs there. I mean, the tires will cool themselves down, but most likely going to have flat spotted them, so every time you're getting onto the brakes, the wheel is vibrating and telling you how much it hates you for what you've just done towards the end of the 2-hour endurance stint. Jesse, you were talking about that sort of topic of coming up to backmarker cars and cars that are slower that you need to lap. I think as a sim racing driver there, that's something that's quite interesting, because for the most part, most of the things that are happening inside of a race are within your control, given the circumstances are correct. So if you're given the opportunity to race in a lobby with names that give those respectful driving conditions that we mentioned right at the start of the stream, then you put yourself in contention to have what would be a good race originally, then suddenly things that are out of your control would be the traffic that you encounter on the track. And you can't really plan where that's going to be. I think there are some sort of elements where knowing where you need to start to push to close down to make a move in a certain part that's a planned element is there. But for the most part, you can't really control where that lapped car is going to come out. And sometimes you get lucky, you get past them straight away, like we see Barazini do just before they go through a rouge and radial. But that's going to leave Phil Witt to have to deal with that Ferrari later on and down towards Kemmel, which is also not a bad place to do it if he can get it done. Otherwise, he waits to go through to the end of the chicanes, and you're costing yourself time. Anywhere that driver might be a little bit slow on the brakes, you can't have contact with him, and that's just completely out of your control. And I think that's one of those elements of sim racing that it's like a love-hate thing, because you don't want to just be out here hot lapping, but at the same time, you know, when you're doing everything right and the lapped car is coming out in just a timing place that isn't benefiting you and just costing you trying to catch up. And we see it happening to Phil Witt. I mean, these are all the times that you want to be able to get out of the way and you're not able to get out of the way. And Phil Witt is just going to be costed time, and Barazini is going to be smiling as he sees this going down in his rearview mirror.
Yeah, Phil Witt unfortunately being held up through Bruxelles, No Name, and now Pouon as well, as we come towards the bottom of the hill at the moment. Phil Witt is going to get past before they get to campus, and yeah, unfortunately Phil Witt will have lost some time. It was 1.8 seconds last time out, and looking at it now, it's up to 3.1. So unfortunately Phil Witt has lost almost a second and a half behind traffic. So that's really unfortunate for Phil Witt at the moment. Just under 18 minutes, or not just under, 17 and a half minutes left of the race. It is still very much possible that he can catch Barazini, but Barazini is looking very, very good at the moment. And even if Phil Witt is quicker, he's going to have to be significantly quicker to make any big gains towards the end.
Well, this is the time that those tires are going to also come into effect, Ryan. You talked about it earlier. Both of those two teams obviously split up by about 10 minutes in terms of their pit stop and how long their tires have started to last. And we know that towards the end of an hour-long stint, that final 10 minutes is really where you get that scrub and feel effect. So it will be interesting to see if Phil Witt can do it. It looked like, from what we saw, the possibility was there. We're currently looking at Eric Engman in a lone Lamborghini. I think is this one of the only Lamborghinis on the grid, Ryan? And is this why we found ourselves looking at it?
Well, the reason we've actually found ourselves looking at it is because he is only half a second behind Nicholas Rage, and this is a battle for Pro-Am, and of course Marco Winkler has found himself not too far behind them as well, but of course any excuse to look at the beautiful Lamborghini Huracan I love the way that you eventually came back to say, yes, G, I agree with you. The blacked out Batman themed Lamborghini definitely was something that needs to be featured on the stream, and what a place to do it. A little three-way battle, 14th, 15th, and 16th. Jesse?
Yeah, listen, we all knew why he's looking at it. We didn't need confirmation that because it's a Lamborghini and he likes Lamborghinis. We didn't have to know that. But yeah,
well, I only learned that the Lamborghini was his favorite car today because we were having a little Q&A session on the grid, which you decided you didn't want to be a part of. So I don't actually know what your favorite manufacturer is.
That's not true. My microphone decided it didn't want to be a part of the broadcast. It switched output on me for some reason. I do apologize for that, folks at home. But I'm a GTR guy, honestly. I mean, I like the Jaguar. Jaguar is great, and I also like the Nissan. If I had to pick a favorite of the sort of new boys, it would be the Lexus, of course. But yeah, this battle here for 15th place, this is fantastic stuff. I mean, there's battles going on all the time up and down the grid, and sometimes you find these little nuggets back in the field, and this isn't even terribly back in the field, this top 15 spot. But one thing I was noticing, guys, too, I just want to bring up is teams and drivers as this race goes on continue to push the limits of ACC's in-game penalty system, and they are getting penalties for the game are giving them penalties, I should say, for things that they're doing, i.e. going off track and stuff like that. Also, it also is possible, and I just thought about this now, it is possible that during the round of pit stops, there were a few penalties there, but some of those were for pit road speed. If you have it on manual and you do not set it up properly, or you do not set it properly coming in and going out, the game will also, the sim I should say, will also give you a penalty for speeding in pit lane, and it mimics everything else. Or actually, I think that might be a stop-go now that I think about that. But yeah, still seeing those penalties and still seeing this battle for 15th. Nobody giving up yet, and why should you? A couple other things to note at the track. The track continues to get later in the evening. It's 8:49 p.m. sim time. 13 minutes, 20 seconds left in the race. Hard to believe this was a 2-hour race at some point. Track temperature continues to fall. 13 degrees is your ambient and your track temperature, which is never good because you've lost almost all the good heat in the track. And I think you're seeing a lot of these drivers sort of get sideways a little bit as there's a bit of a pass there. Oh no, it's calamity. It's calamity as both cars go off. Ingman and Winkler take each other out. I think Winkler had a bit of a desperate move and slid into Ingman, and that's going to cause them both to go off, one on the inside, one on the outside, and that is going to end in tears.
JC, I think you are right there. I think that it was a little bit of a lunge move coming out there, and unfortunately Ingman also running quite wide into the entrance there, maybe offering a look-see on the inside, then closing back across. But you can't do that as a driver that's in that followed position, and definitely not what you want to see in such a closing stage of the race. It's soul-destroying to the drivers involved, and my heart goes out to Eric Ingman, who was challenging up to the car in front of him. He's dropped down the order a little bit, not too much in terms of positional change for his class, but that Lamborghini possibly also going to be a bit damaged towards the end. Ryan, I mean, as the Lamborghini fan, does the Lamborghini feel great at Spa stock standard? Does it require a lot of setup work, and would a sort of impact like that now be manageable towards the end through these fast sections? I guess you're going to have to watch and see, right?
Well, I tell you what, since some of the latest physics and tyre updates that we've had, as someone who does like to drive the Lamborghini fairly often, despite the fact that the Lamborghini doesn't like me driving it, it has become much easier to manage, I would think, over the last couple of updates. It's definitely become easier to drive, and that hasn't meant that it's got any slower by any means. It is still an incredibly quick car once you get the setup dialed in. The thing is, though, this car, once you start picking up damage on it, it does really tend to not want to keep going the same way it did before, and not in a good way, although there was an occasion I did encounter with Andre Franke once, where he managed to dent the front end of his car to the point where it made it quicker. Not entirely sure how that works. Further research will be needed on that subject, but looking at the incident, yes, it was probably very ambitious from Winkler. I mean, I am a Ferrari fan as well, so I'm not taking bias here. I do love the Italian cars. And I would imagine that Eric Ingman's teammate is probably off to the stewards at the moment to report that, because obviously,
oh boy,
the 555
fight for fifth. Fight for fifth just occurred. Tobias Quick on Geider, and that is all done and dusted. Quick has gotten by Geider for the 5th position. That was brewing for some time. Sorry to interrupt, guys, but that got really close through the Kimmel Straight, but it has been done. And look at the gap now that Tobias Quick has been able to put on what I can only assume is an ailing Lexus on tires or fuel or something, because that pass, it was really close because there was a lap car in there, but got it done. And Tobias Quick up to 5th place for Lappin Party. Lovely stuff.
Yeah, and actually looking at the Lexus, there's no obvious damage on that car either, so yeah, it must be tires or something on that car. It definitely won't be fuel related. I wouldn't imagine much fuel saving going on at the moment. You would have ideally liked to have got any fuel saving out of the way early on in the race, or not long after jumping into the car after you surround a pit stop. So I can only imagine that that might be a tyre related issue for the Lexus, or maybe it's just the fact that you know, the stamina has, you know, got to one of the drivers here. I mean, you know, not everyone is not everyone is used to doing perhaps maybe 70 minutes of a 2-hour race. Yes, Jesse?
Doesn't the Porsche like cooler conditions?
Yes, it does. It does also tend to enjoy the wet as well. At least the new Porsche does. The old Porsche does not. But the new Porsche does tend to enjoy the cooler and damp conditions.
Why are we talking about Porsches and not involving me?
Well, here's the interesting thing, George, because that might be part of the resurgence of the Lappin Party team with Queck here in the 969. It is 10 degrees C cooler now than when we started this race nearly 2 hours ago. And that could explain why that car is a lot more lively now. Not that it wasn't before, it's just that now we're inside the top 5 and he's gaining time still and pulling away. I wonder how much of that is down to the atmospheric conditions that we're dealing with at 9:05 p.m. here at Spa.
Yeah, and also just quickly something, sorry to cut in there, George, this also might have something to do with Barazzini all of a sudden gaining time on the likes of Phil Vitt. That gap up to 4.2 seconds now between the two leaders. As I have noticed, there is a penalty for the 555 of Winkler, who was involved with the 808 Lamborghini. George or Jesse, whichever of you like, could you give an update if that is for contact?
Yeah, that is indeed, Ryan. You're absolutely right. Incident involving the 808 and the 555. A drive-through was issued to the 555 for causing that collision. We assumed that was going to happen, didn't we? And there it is. It's just a bit of a lunge, a little unsafe indeed. Both cars go spinning, but of course the 808, I mean, couldn't have really known. So 555 got a penalty there. I feel like that's fairly deserved, and it's not too out of the league to say that. A couple other things while we're looking at it. The stewards investigated a lap 1 incident involving the 199 car. He was given a stop and go for 10 seconds for unsafe rejoin on the first lap. That car apparently drove across the circuit without waiting for the traffic to pass. That was deemed unsafe and was given a stop go for 10 seconds. Also, there was a warning given to the 420 car for an unsafe rejoin. A report says that while the intentions were good, it was almost disastrous, and just take better care in the future. Of course, that was just a warning for the 420 car.
Yeah, good to see the stewards out there, of course, giving people a warning if they do not believe it, that the crime, or maybe unintentional crime, is worth a punishment. And of course, that's the beauty of live stewarding, is that we can give out penalties, or we can give out warnings to drivers and cars in particular, to encourage safer racing. And it's one of the things that I think we noticed at Monza as well, is that people were less likely to go for lap 1 lunges and turn 1 hero moves, considering the fact that we have live stewarding available. And, you know, you could have your race ruined by a drive-through essentially on the first lap if need be.
Yeah, it's really great. I mean, the things that we do here at RLM to help secure to most people to have a good race. I mean, of course, you are going to have incidents, and there are going to be unforeseen circumstances in a lot of cases. We've talked about a lot of those different events that have came through today. But at the end of it all, I mean, for the vast majority of people, it turns into a really good race, and it's really clean. And I won't talk about a certain other sim that I race in where I don't always have the best experience and I pay for that sim. It is incredibly refreshing to see this sort of racing here where there's not really any of that, you know, but I don't have to do anything. I can just assume it's going to be a good race, and a lot of these guys do too. And obviously that's why they race here. They race here because they are assuming, and they in most cases correctly so, that they can have a really good race. And this is what this has turned into. I mean, we've had a fantastic battle for a lot of the different classes, and don't think for 1 second I forgot about Tom Young, who's in the 15th place at the moment, leading that AM class. He has just been kind of on his own island as far as pace in the AM class, and he will, if nothing should go wrong in the final 4 minutes 20 seconds here, he will have a lovely win in the AM class. Up front, it appears as if our leader has pulled away, and I don't think that lead is surmountable up there. No, it certainly doesn't look like it. It's only gone out. I wonder how much of that's traffic, how much of that is tires, or perhaps just trying too hard. We don't really know. All we know is the gap is going out exponentially. Yes, George?
I was going to say a possible theory craft test for that cold conditions favor Porsches going down on the stream at the moment. It will be Tommaso Mosca versus Jesse Vatanen. Jesse Vatanen obviously in that number 43 Audi, trying to chase down the number 193 Porsche. They're not battling out for position in terms of driver placements. They're in different tiers. Mosca in the pro tier, Vatanen in the silver tier. But for now, it does look like Mosca was kind of being caught up by Vatanen for a long portion of those last couple of minutes while we were watching this brewing on stream. Obviously coming down onto Kemmel now, quite a couple of car links separate them for the moment. It's not a battle for position in terms of their classes, like I mentioned, but you know, it's 21st and 22nd on the grid after 2 hours of racing, still holding down the fort and fighting it out on track. They're going to, you know, continue to bring on that class of racing that we like to see right until the very end. And yeah, getting out the way, the Bentley of Kinsler, they're going to move out of the way for his fellow drivers that are above him in terms of the tier. Kinsler, they're just going to hand that over. It wasn't going to benefit him, and that's the kind of on-shoulder thinking that heads on the shoulder thinking that we talk about. You know, make those decisions, don't fight with cars that you don't need to, and make it to the end of the race at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that, you know, even in shorter, endurance races like the one we have here, the 2-hour race, you know, early on in the race, is it worth going, you know, tooth and nail for positions? Well, for some of the pro drivers competing for a win, yes, maybe it is. But for some of the other drivers competing in the Pro-Am or the Am class, it's, you know, maybe not worth going tooth and nail towards the start of the race or towards the end of the race when you pretty much have a position locked down. Kinsler has second place in the Am class pretty much locked in place. He's unlikely to be challenged by the number 7 Ferrari of Grunmark, third in class. So, you know, it makes sense to, you know, to just be sensible, and you get that in all sorts of endurance racing throughout the classes, that you have to consider where you are at this point in time and who you are racing realistically. I mean, obviously, everyone likes to finish ahead of as many people as they can. Helps for bragging rights and helps your ego and all that, but the reality of the situation is, for the championship, it makes no difference.
You're absolutely right, Ryan. There is no logical reason why you would try to pass Mosca. There's no reason why you would do that. You're absolutely right. You've forgotten the only important bit to that puzzle, though. That's a racing driver, and he can beat a pro driver in an AM car. He wants it. But he made in the final chicane, he made a little lunge to the outside, letting him know that, hey man, if you leave it open, I'm going to take it. But I think he's doing a great job. And to your guys' point, he's not doing anything too crazy. He doesn't want to give up any time or even make it a fight for second place in AM. Kinsler it does. He wants to run the clock out. He wants to get to the finish, and I think that's exactly what he'll do. But yeah, I make these racing drivers out like they're they're race horses in a way, you know. They're race horses in a way. They have the blinders on, and all they can see is what's in front of them and winning. And but I think a lot of times, a lot of these guys, I should give them more credit, not you guys, but I should give them more credit because of how intelligent they are with where they put their car, what situations they put themselves in, and that sort of thing. As time has expired on the race, and we will get our first finishers across soon, this has been a fantastic race. Would you guys like to summarize a bit, as this battle for 20th isn't going away yet? Would you guys like to summarize sort of your impression of this race? Because certainly this is not what I expected. I expected a lot more fender benders. I expected there to be a lot more incidents, I should say, on this track, and we just didn't get that today.
Well,
You know, JC, this isn't IndyCar, so I'm not surprised that we didn't get that many incidents, to be honest. It's been a great race, and I think real great racecraft coming in overall. So I'm just going to jump in with a couple of quick thoughts on that. I'll let Ryan close it out before Barazini gets towards the end of the line. Of course, I'll say this while smiling. Glad to see the Orion race team get away from the start and have a dominant race up front. They've had everything go right for them from my point of view. But overall, throughout the field, some impressive things going down from the commentators' coast team as well. Special shout out to them. They were doing a great job until they drive through penalty. On my side, it's been a great race.
yeah, we started with some light cloudy weather in very nice daylight conditions, but we will finish under the lights, under the haze. It will be Barazini in the 126 Porsche who will cross the line to win overall and in the Pro Class at Spa-Francorchamps Round 2 of the Endurance Championship. Phil Witt will bring his number 25 Audi over the line for second place in Pro Class alongside with his teammate Wolf Matuszka. Great showing there from the number 25 Audi. And as for third place overall, well, it's not quite finished yet, but it's going to be going the way of Jan Onorati at the moment. The 192 Racing Line Motorsport Ferrari will look to finish third in class at the moment and third overall. Then it's going to be Benz Mattiassi, the first of the Pro-Am drivers, and it's going to be the second race of the season where we have a Pro-Am driver in the top 5. Incredible showing from the Bentley here today, and in fact it's going to be another Bentley that wins in the Pro-Am class, so incredibly good showing from them here today as they cross the line third and fourth respectively. Then it's going to look like Tobias Quack, I think it is, yes, the Lexus of Guida doesn't really have a chance here, so the 969 or the LP69 Performance 2 car will cross the line for 5th place. Guida will come across in 6th, which does mean that it's going to be Sergei Chukhanov who partners the car with Maxim Yafanov. They will come through the last chicane now to round out 7th place overall. That's going to be 5th in the Pro Class. And of course, big mention here to Sebastian Bruno, the Open Visor Racing Club team, 777 Aston Martin, who's going to be picking up a podium in their class, 3rd place in Pro-Am. And they have, of course, already crossed the line, but shout out to Thomas Crabb and Tom Young, who will take the honours in the Am class, and they will pick up their first win of the season in their own class. Incredible drive out there today from everyone, and some incredibly exciting racing there as well.
Guys, I was wrong about so much today. I was wrong about there not being a Porsche win. I thought that we were going to have a Ferrari win this race. I was wrong about that. I was wrong with my prediction of who was going to win this race. But if there was one thing I was right about, and I have to end on a good note, Jardier drove that number 49 Redline Motorsport Esports Dream Team car all the way back inside the top 10. And that's the only thing I got right today. But holy cow, what a drive from them. From 35th to 10th in less than 2 hours, as the sun has officially, well, you wouldn't be able to see the sun anyway, but the lights come on around the track. Brilliant stuff by all these guys. Just an excellently ran race. Saw a lot of really great sportsmanship. And I can't wait for 2 weeks' time for the next race. Ryan, where are we going?
Well, I did mention it earlier before, but in case anyone didn't quite catch it, 2 weeks' time, 22nd of May, we are heading to George's home, Kyalami, in South Africa.
I will be singing our national anthem for you guys live on the stream. So.
I am holding you to that.
I will do it.
I won't.
I will do it. And it has many languages too.
Well, there you go. You've got something to look forward to in 2 weeks' time, regardless of whether you're going to be looking forward to the racing or the South African national anthem. But yes, 2 weeks' time we will be at Kyalami for a 2-hour race. That's going to be incredibly exciting to watch, especially around what I consider to be one of the best tracks in the world, never mind one of the best tracks in ACC. Just a quick overview of the calendar and what other races we have coming up later on in the future. On the 5th of June, 2 hours of Silverstone for the Endurance Championship. 19th of June will be 2 hours of Barcelona. And then, of course, the Endurance Championship will round out on the 3rd of July with a 2-hour race at Suzuka. Incredibly excited for all of that. Other things that we have coming up over the next couple of weeks, we have the start of the NSX Pro, Pro-Am and Am splits, and if I am correct, I think all of those are going to be live streamed. I think it's going to be the first time in which every single split of a series is going to be live streamed, so that is incredibly exciting. I think I will probably be bringing commentary on the Am series, and I think it will be Simon who will be broadcasting the Pro and Pro-Am series. So, yeah, incredibly exciting to see that get underway. That's just a mini championship, I think 4 or 5 races as well. And as Jesse did allude to earlier on in the stream, we have a couple of things planned for the anniversary weekend of ACC coming up towards the end of May. So, yep, that's going to be a Blancpain GT Challenge Series weekend. 2 1-hour races with driver swaps. So that's going to be incredibly exciting to watch, of course. It's the first time I think we've done anything like that around here. And of course, we do have a couple of other endurance races in the pipeline for the next couple of months before we prepare for the 24-hour race we are going to host at Spa towards the end of the year, I think in Q3 after the summer. So incredibly exciting stuff. Lots of things that we have left in the pipeline at the moment. And of course, remember, come summer, GT4s will be out as well, and you can definitely put bets on the fact that we will be having GT4s and multi-class racing as well.
So much going on the RLM calendar, I should say. A couple things. Thank you guys on Twitch for all of your follows today. Thank you. We had a sub or two as well. Thank you guys for your subs here. Sorry we didn't get to read that out loud on stream. We were enthralled with what was going on. And if you're watching this on the VOD on YouTube, again, why not subscribe? And if you did, thanks, like, and leave a comment. Tell us who you were rooting for. And just a massive thank you to all the people that helped this come off. All the RLM admins, the stewards, anybody here in broadcast. Ryan, thank you for working the cameras. George, thank you for dealing with me for 2 hours. And just an incredibly enjoyable experience. And I will see you all sometime real soon. Final thoughts?
Yeah, I just I want to thank you guys again. I think sometimes I come across a little bit sassy, but at the end of the day, I love being here and doing the racing commentaries with you. So Jesse, it was definitely not having to endure for 2 hours. So thanks for joining. Ryan, great work on the camera side, and I'll see you guys next week for more RLM action, and see you guys for the actual endurance series again, all 3 of us again in 2 weeks' time at Kyalami.
Yeah, thank you very much for watching, everyone. We do appreciate the support. We do appreciate the follows, the subs, everything that you have to offer. Even just your time here on an evening is much appreciated by all of us, and it goes a long way towards the future of this community. If you're interested in signing up for any of the races, do check out redlinemotorsport.co.uk. You can see the link on stream right now. And of course, check out our affiliates Fanatec and GT Omega if you are looking for some sim racing gear to boot. But that's been us for today. We will be back in 2 weeks' time, as George mentioned, for Kyalami. And I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your evening.